Chapter 260. After Wang Daoyuan admitted defeat, Lei Wudao dispersed the lightning ball and sat on the ground, vomiting a few mouthfuls of blood. The people from the Crescent Sun Palace had strange expressions. As the winner, they didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As the loser, the Netherworld sect cheered when they saw Lei Wudao heavily injured. Wang Daoyuan took out a jar of spirit peach dew and drank it in one gulp. His spiritual energy quickly recovered. He cupped his hands towards Lei Wudao and said, "Lei Daoyu's shadow sword art is indeed powerful. In the future, it won't be a problem for you to resonate with ancient swords. I admire you." Then, he turned and walked out of the arena. As soon as he walked to the edge of the arena, Luo Hongming welcomed him with a face full of joy. He cupped his hands and said, "Dao, you fought beautifully. The sect master and the elders are very satisfied. The sect master will personally commend Daoyu's contribution. Please follow me." Wang Daoyuan followed behind Luo Hongming and came to a tall palace-like building. This building only had the appearance of a palace and the decorations were very simple. It should have been built temporarily. Luo Hongming led the way with Wang Daoyuan following behind. They walked into the palace. When they entered the main hall, they saw the sect master of the Netherworld sect sitting on the main seat with more than 20 Purple Mansion sect elders on both sides. Luo Hongming stepped forward and reported, "Sect master, the hero of this battle, Wang Daoyuan, has arrived." Wang Daoyuan bowed deeply and said, "Junior Wang Daoyuan greets the sect master and the elders." Luo Jiuyo smiled and said, "No need for formalities. I didn't expect Yuchuan Daoyu's descendant to be such a character. With a 5th-level foundation establishment cultivation, you defeated 3 6th-level foundation establishment disciples of the Crescent Sun Palace and seriously injured the top genius of the Crescent Sun Palace, Lei Wudao. You will be rewarded with 2 foundation establishment pills, 4 pill, artifact, and talisman array inheritances, and 100,000 spirit stones." One of the elders bowed and said, "Yes." Wang Daoyuan also bowed and said, "Thank you for the reward, sect master." Luo Jiuyo waved his hand and said with a smile, "No need to be so courteous. You've made a great contribution, so these rewards are what you deserve. In addition, I have something to ask my little friend. What is the origin of your golden rock shadow? The ancient books collected by the Underworld sect for thousands of years have never mentioned this magic. Being shameless was the style of the ghost sect." Wang Daoyuan had expected this move. Previously, when he used the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique, after using the feather blades, he did not let the Golden Rock shadow grow new feathers, hiding part of its ability. Wang Daoyuan respectfully replied, "Sect master, I obtained this technique from killing a cultivator who stole treasures many years ago. According to the records of the spell, this spell was created by a golden core senior tens of thousands of years ago. Originally, there were other changes, but later on, they were all incomplete. The only thing left was the golden rock's shadow and the method of using the golden feather to attack. Furthermore, the feather attack technique was also incomplete. It seemed like it had been edited and supplemented. I've painstakingly cultivated for dozens of years, but I've only condensed 1,000 feathers at most. If sect master needs it, I'm willing to offer this technique to you." After saying that, he took out a jade slip. This jade slip was engraved by his clone. In order to prevent others from recognizing that this was a spell created by perfected Yuanying, he had also deleted some of its contents. This spell was created by a Yuanying cultivator. To repair it was not something a foundation establishment cultivator like him could do. Even a golden core cultivator would find it difficult to do so. However, he had cultivated this spell for dozens of years and had a deep understanding of it. Deleting a part of the important contents of the spell did not affect its basic functions, but at the same time, increased the difficulty of cultivation and lowered its power. Furthermore, this was a modified version of the Golden Rock Wrestling Dragon technique. After the Golden Rock's shadow finished using the feather blades, it could no longer condense feathers and could only rely on physical combat. He had also changed perfected Monarch Golden Rock's personal situation, fabricating a golden core cultivator who did not even have a real name. After hearing that it was a legacy of a golden core cultivator, Luo Jiuyo's interest was greatly reduced. However, the spells of other golden core cultivators were still very meaningful. There were several Zifu disciples in the hall who were also very interested in this spell. He took out a jade slip and said, "I have some use for this spell of yours, so I'll take it. Of course, I can't let you suffer a loss. I have a golden core spell here that I discovered when exploring the cave of an ancient cultivator in my early years. This is a combination spell of the 5 elements. It just so happens that you also have 5 spiritual roots, so it's very suitable for you. I'll use this combination spell in exchange for your golden rock spell." After saying that, the jade slip in Wang Daoyuan's hand flew into Luo Jiuyo's hand. The jade slip in Luo Jiuyo's hand flew out and landed in Wang Daoyuan's hand. Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Thank you for the reward, sect master." At this moment, a Zifu disciple elder brought a peak chi refinement cultivator into the hall. The Zifu disciple cupped his hands and said, reporting to sect master, "Wang Daolong is here." Wang Daolong hurriedly bowed to the sect master and the other elders. Luo Jiuyo smiled and said, "No need to be so polite. Daolong, this time, your 7th brother Wang Daoyuan has made a great contribution. In order to reward the Wang family, the sect will give you the qualification to build your foundation. In addition, after you succeed in building your foundation, you can become Elder Luo Xuanming's disciple." A Zifu disciple elder stood up and cupped his hands towards Luo Jiuyo. It was Elder Luo Xianming. Wang Daolong had just turned 70 years old and already had no hope of building his foundation. He didn't expect that a foundation establishment qualification would fall from the sky and he could even become the disciple of a Zifu disciple elder. Moreover, this elder was a junior of the sect master's family. Wang Daolong was extremely grateful and kowtowed again and again. Elder Luo Xianming took Wang Daolong away and prepared to build his foundation. After the matter of the reward was settled, Wang Daoyuan left the hall. Although he was Wang Daolong's brother, he wasn't a cultivator of the Netherworld sect. It wasn't appropriate for him to go and guard. The duel between the two sides hadn't ended, so it wasn't convenient for him to leave. He could only go to the duel arena to watch the show. There would be a Zifu disciple duel later and he could feel the strength of a Zifu disciple. The battle of the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators wasn't over yet, but the Netherworld sect had already gained the upper hand. Wang Daoyuan defeated 3 experts of the Crescent Sun Palace and heavily injured Lei Wudao. The Netherworld sect didn't lose a single one of their main forces. After Lei Wudao was injured, a cultivator from the Netherworld sect went up and defeated Lei Wudao. The Crescent Sun Palace didn't have enough experts and in the end, the Netherworld sect won the battle of the mid-stage foundation establishment cultivators. In the battle of the late-stage foundation establishment cultivators, the Netherworld sect went all out. More than 60% of the participating cultivators were from the Netherworld sect. However, the Netherworld sect's foundation establishment cultivators weren't young. They were at least 200 years old. They probably didn't have enough talent and had no hope of establishing a Violet Palace realm. Losing a few of them wouldn't hurt the sect's foundation. These people were more like Li Qingxuan. Although they had exhausted their cultivation potential, they were still at the peak of the foundation establishment realm and their battle strength wasn't weak. It was the same for the Crescent Sun Palace. Most of their cultivators were very old. Many of the foundation establishment cultivators who didn't participate in the battle also ran to the side of the arena to watch the battle. Wang Daoyuan was no exception. These veteran foundation establishment cultivators had rich battle experience. Watching them battle was truly an eye-opener. Usually, even an ordinary second-grade dermic art could be used to great effect. Moreover, these people had lived for nearly 200 years and had fought for the sect countless times. To be able to survive until now, they were all old foxes. All kinds of dermic arts flew back and forth in the arena, but there wasn't a single serious injury on either side, let alone death. In the end, the Netherworld sect won with a slight advantage and took another 1/6 of the Spirit Stone mine. Chapter 261. And then, the Zifu disciples entered the arena. This was Wang Daoyuan's first time seeing Zifu disciples battle. Unlike Foundation Establishment cultivators, Violet Palace Realm cultivators focused more on the use of their spiritual sense. After a cultivator established their Violet Palace, their soul would undergo a qualitative change and become a divine soul. Their spiritual sense would also undergo a qualitative change. They could use their spiritual sense to control magical techniques and change the direction of their attacks. They could even use their spiritual sense to interfere with their opponent's magical techniques and magic treasures. Under the control of their spiritual sense, many powerful magical techniques that were easy to dodge could be used. In the early Violet Palace Realm battles, all the cultivators the Netherworld sect sent out were foreign cultivators. In terms of inheritances, these foreign cultivators were much weaker than the native cultivators. They were also at a disadvantage when compared to the cultivators of the Savage Sun Palace. The Netherworld sect was quickly defeated. They had already fought 4 battles and each side had won 2. The Netherworld sect had invested heavily in the Middle Violet Palace Realm battles. They had sent out 3 Violet Palace Realm cultivators, all of whom were native cultivators. Zhou Qi was one of them. 40 years ago, when Shi Zhenbang was fighting over the Foundation Establishment pill, Zhou Qi wasn't able to quickly defeat Shi Zhenbang. Wang Daoyuan had always thought that Zhou Qi was relatively weak amongst Violet Palace Realm cultivators. But he didn't expect that he would shine in this battle and defeat 2 of the Savage Sun Palace's mid-Violet Palace Realm experts. The Netherworld sect had also won another battle and obtained half of the Spirit Stone Mine. In the final battle between late Violet Palace Realm cultivators, both sides had sent out peak Violet Palace Realm cultivators. The Netherworld sect had sent out their leader, Elder Jean. It had to be said that the Netherworld sect master's move was quite brilliant. If he won, then everyone would be happy. But if he lost, then Elder Jin's prestige would be damaged and he would be able to suppress the momentum of the foreign cultivators. Elder Jean was worthy of being called the #1 cultivator under the Golden Core stage of the Netherworld sect. His battle prowess wasn't weak. After defeating one opponent, he also injured the second. Due to his outstanding performance, the Netherworld sect had won. However, Elder Jean didn't have it easy either. He had suffered heavy injuries and wouldn't be able to recover without 50 to 60 years of recuperation. As a result, his chances of breaking through to the Golden Core stage were very slim. Elder Jean wasn't young either. He should be over 400 years old and should only have 70 to 80 years of life left. He would need 50 to 60 years of recuperation. After his injuries were completely healed, he wouldn't have much time left. At that time, he could only make hasty preparations and forcefully break through. The success rate was extremely low. The Netherworld sect had obtained 2/3 of the Spirit Stone Mine, which was a great profit. They had never intended to take over the entire Spirit Stone Mine in the first place. Back then, they had been schemed against by the 2 great sects in Guiyan Valley. Their Foundation Establishment cultivators had suffered heavy losses, and there was even a gap in their generation. In the past 40 years, they had cultivated a group of Foundation building cultivators with great difficulty, and the Netherworld sect did not dare to risk their lives with them. The original plan was to give up on the 3 duels to reduce the losses of the sect's cultivators. He didn't expect that Wang Daoyuan would be among the cannon fodder of his family, who helped the Ghost sect win the duel in the middle stage of building Foundation. The Netherworld sect used a large number of family cultivators to prevent the subsidiary forces from becoming too big, while also reducing the strength of the cruel Sun Palace, and at the same time suppressing the external forces in the sect. To the native faction, this battle could be said to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. After all the duels were over, the rest of the division of output and development were the top management of the Ghost sect. It had nothing to do with Wang Daoyuan and other family cultivators. The family cultivators who had participated in the battle were brought back by the various elders. Wang Daoyuan and the others were also brought back to Clear Glass City by Yang Yong. In this duel, there were also casualties among the Foundation Establishment cultivators in the northern part of Clear Glass City. 3 of them did not return. In a little more than a day, everyone arrived at Clear Glass City and returned to their own families. Half a month after Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoxing returned to Jade Spring Peak, Yang Yong brought a Ghost Sect Foundation establishment cultivator to Jade Spring Peak. A Zifu disciple came to visit, and the 2 grand elders of the Wang family also came out to welcome them, leading the 3 into the hall. Yang Yong smiled. Congratulations to the Wang family. Daoyuan has done a great service this time. The sect master has personally rewarded the Wang family with 2 foundation establishment pills, 1 grade 3 pill, 1 artifact, and 1 talisman array inheritance, in addition to 100,000 spirit stones. After saying this, the foundation establishment cultivator who came with him handed a storage pouch to Wang Shui, saying, "The sect master's rewards are all here. Patriarch Wang, please check them in person." Wang Shui opened the storage pouch to take a look. Inside, there were 4 jade slips, 2 jade boxes, and 1,000 mid-grade spirit stones. He checked the 2 jade boxes and the 4 jade slips, saying, "There's no problem with the items." "Thank you, Senior Martial Brother." The Ghost Sect Foundation establishment cultivator waved his hand, saying, "No need to be so polite. Daolong and I are fellow disciples of the same sect, so we're also a family. Junior Martial Brother asked me to tell Dao Yu of the Wang family that he used 2 foundation establishment pills and has successfully entered foundation establishment. Please don't worry about Dao Yu." Yang Yong congratulated. Daolong has entered foundation establishment and has also entered Luo Xianming and Daoyu's tutelage. The Wang family also has the duty of raising clear river carps, so now you can be considered a direct descendant of the Ghost Sect. As long as someone can establish a Zifu in the future, the Wang family's status won't be inferior to my Yang family's. In the future, our 2 families must get closer. The 2 Grand Supreme Elders accompanied him for a while, and after an hour, he left Jade Spring Peak with the Ghost Sect Foundation establishment cultivator. After sending off the 2 people, Wang Daoyuan returned to his own Immortals Cave. He opened the Immortals Cave's restriction and began to cultivate the 5 elements magic art that he exchanged. Luo Jiuyo was willing to take it out to exchange with Wang Daoyuan, so this thing definitely couldn't be considered a high-level magic art among Golden Core cultivators. But then again, no matter how trashy a magic art created by a Golden Core cultivator was, it was still enough to be used as a trump card for a foundation establishment cultivator. His meteor fall technique was only created by a Zifu realm cultivator, and it could be considered a killing move against the majority of cultivators of the same level. This magic art was called the 5 Elements Devil Suppression Seal, and it was formed by the combination of 5 elements magic arts. The power of each magic art wasn't outstanding when used alone, but the 5 magic arts could be combined to form a large illusory seal. This large illusory seal could be used to attack, defend, and suppress. Its power was considered average among 4th-rank magic arts, but its attack speed wasn't very good, so it was very easy to dodge. The 5 magic arts were the White Tiger Blade, the Grey Dragon Pearl, the Black Tortoise Shield, the Vermilion Bird Fan, and the Kirin Seal. When used, spirit energy would condense into illusory images. The White Tiger Blade mainly attacked, the Black Tortoise Shield defended, and the Vermilion Bird Fan controlled fire. The Grey Dragon Pearl could extract the enemy's life force and be used to heal injuries. The Kirin Seal was both offensive and defensive, and it also had some suppressive effects. The fusion of the 5 elements used the Kirin Seal as the core. With Wang Daoyuan's current strength, he couldn't use the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal at all. The creator of this cultivation technique only wanted to bring out the advantages of the 5 elements, which was why he created such a combination magic art. Moreover, this magic art clearly hadn't been improved, and it had many flaws. For example, the casting speed was too slow. Even if a single magic art was cultivated to its peak, it would still take 3 breaths to cast it. Its power was also very average. With Wang Daoyuan's current cultivation, the power of the White Tiger Blade was only about 15 to 16 times that of a mid-grade level 2 Golden Saber Talisman. In 3 breaths of time, it could only produce this much lethality. Using the meteor fall technique, he could shoot out 5 flaming meteors in 3 breaths of time. The direct lethality was 50 times that of a mid-grade level 2 golden saber talisman. If it wasn't for the fact that it could be combined into the 5 elements devil suppression seal, this thing wouldn't even be as good as the meteor fall technique. However, there was a lot of room for improvement in this magic art, especially when combined with his special spirit energy. The Grey Dragon Pearl combined with the wood attribute spirit energy had an extremely strong ability to heal and deprive the enemy of their life force. The Kirin Seal combined with the corrosive effect of the earth attribute spirit energy caused damage to the enemy while suppressing. The Black Tortoise Shield and the Gui Water Death Flame didn't match and didn't work together. On the other hand, the Vermilion Bird Fan's ability to control fire was very valuable. If it could be improved, it could control different attributes of spirit fire, which would be very valuable. At present, the White Tiger Blade didn't seem to have any use at all. Chapter 262. Although this combination spell had great potential for improvement, it was barely enough to be called a Golden Core spell for now. As for improvement, he could forget about it before he reached the Violet Palace realm. The only thing of greater value now was the Tsung Dragon Pearl. The rejuvenation spell he used now was not strong enough to heal injuries. After all, the rejuvenation spell was only a very common level 2 spell. However, the Tsung Dragon Pearl could be used to deprive the enemy of life force and use it to heal himself. Other things aside, the healing effect was at least much stronger than the rejuvenation spell. With this spell, he could brazenly use the characteristics of wood attribute spiritual energy in the future. Everything could be attributed to the Tsung Dragon Pearl. Of the other 4 spells, only the Kirin Seal was useful and could be cultivated. As for the other 3 spells, he would consider whether to cultivate them after he reached the Violet Palace realm and made some improvements. The Tsung Dragon Pearl was not difficult to cultivate. He got the hang of it in a day. He condensed the image of a dark green bead about 5 to 6 inches in diameter. The bead had azure dragon patterns on it. He took out a ferocious boar from the space and used the Tsung Dragon Pearl to extract something like a white mist from it. After 10 breaths, the ferocious boar showed signs of weakness. The Tsung Dragon Pearl shone with a dazzling green light. He put the ferocious boar into the space of the spirit pearl and took out another ferocious boar. He made a deep wound on its body. Then, he activated the Tsung Dragon Pearl, which emitted a dark green light and shone it on the wound. In just 3 breaths, the wound on the ferocious boar was completely healed. Moreover, the whole boar was very energetic. The ferocious boar in the space of the spirit pearl that had its life force extracted started to wither. However, it slowly recovered after a few days and did not leave any permanent damage. It seemed that these ferocious boars could be used as a source of life force for healing. Even if the Tsung Dragon Pearl did not absorb life force, the dark green light it emitted could also be used for healing. Although the effect was much weaker, it was still much stronger than the rejuvenation spell. After cultivating the spell, Wang Daoyuan continued to concentrate on improving his cultivation as soon as possible. Currently, the Underworld sect and the Crescent Sun Palace had reached an agreement. The 3 major sects were preparing to attack the remnants of the Zhao clan north of the mountain. The biggest obstacle was the half-demon tribes in the north of the mountains. Shanbei had always been the territory of demons and half-demons. If the 3 sects wanted to go to Shanbei to fight the Guiyuan sword sect, it would be like fighting in someone else's home. As long as there was still a shred of bravery left in them, they would not agree. If the 3 sects wanted the Yao and half Yao to agree, they would have to either beat them into submission or pay a huge price. No one knew how long it would take to deal with the demons and half-demons. Wang Daoyuan was not worried about participating in the battle against the Guiyuan sword sect. On the surface, the Guiyuan sword sect was not very strong. He was worried that the Green Willow continent would make a move. Once the Green Willow continent joined the war, the Wang family would be one of the first families to be affected. The matter of moving the clansmen into the 5 Elements Mystery Realm could not be delayed any longer. He had consumed most of the earth vein spirit milk to resist the yin qi when he was collecting the Gui water nether flame and digging the tunnel. Currently, he only had 7 drops left. Now, if they wanted to take down Fallen Dragon Ridge as soon as possible, they would have to rely on the earth vein spiritual milk. Using up all 7 drops of earth vein spirit essence was enough for him to break through to the 7th level of foundation establishment. The only problem was that the fire attribute spiritual energy in the earth vein spirit milk needed to be neutralized with yin qi. His water attribute spiritual energy had the yin qi of the Gui water nether flame. It could be used to neutralize the fire attribute of the earth vein spirit milk, but it would take a long time. Wang Daoyuan took out 1/10 of a drop of earth vein spirit milk and prepared to consume it. Before consuming it, he converted all the spiritual energy in his body into water attribute spiritual energy and used the water attribute spiritual energy seed to refine it a second time. After consuming the earth vein spirit milk, he immediately circulated his cultivation technique to refine it. He then used the water attribute spiritual energy to neutralize the fire attribute within. The water attribute spiritual energy in his body could barely neutralize the fire attribute of the earth vein spirit milk. In order to avoid damage to his meridians and dantian, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to refine it continuously. Every month, he would only refine 1/10 of a drop of earth vein spirit milk. The rest of the time, he would use it to condense his true yuan and recover his physical body. 5 years later, Wang Daoyuan's cultivation had reached the pinnacle of the 6th stage of the foundation establishment stage and he could break through to the 7th stage at any time. There was only a drop of earth vein spirit milk left. He initially wanted to rely on the last drop of earth vein spirit milk to break through to the 7th stage of the foundation establishment stage, but he had to leave his seclusion early because of his family's matters. His 5th great-uncle, Wang Jian, had a trace of comprehension towards the Violet Palace realm. The opportunity to break through to the Violet Palace realm had appeared and he was preparing to establish his Violet Palace. Although breaking through to the Violet Palace realm wasn't life-threatening, his 5th great-uncle would break the balance in the northern region if he could successfully establish his Violet Palace realm. At this time, not even the Yang clan could be trusted, not to mention the Liang clan. The Netherworld sect and the Savage Sun Palace had reached an agreement, so there was no need for too many people to be stationed at the border. The Liang clan's ancestor, Liang, had already returned to the Azure Sky Peak. If news of Wang Jian breaking through to the Violet Palace realm spread out, Liang might come to cause trouble. The Jade Spring Peak's defensive array was a 3rd-grade profound tortoise array. Liang was a mid-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator, so it wouldn't be a problem for him to block the array. However, the array also needed someone to control it. Only with someone presiding over the array would it be able to unleash its true power. The most suitable person to control the array was the 12th uncle, who was already in the 7th stage of the foundation establishment stage. Next was the great-grandfather, who was in the 9th stage of the foundation establishment stage. However, their cultivation technique was the same as the patriarch's, the overturned sea art. If the patriarch had an accident during his breakthrough, it would be more convenient for them to help. Therefore, they had to protect the patriarch. The Wang clan had 8 foundation establishment stage cultivators, and Aunt Jiao was also of the water attribute. However, their cultivation was too low. They had just reached the 3rd stage of the foundation establishment stage, so it was difficult for them to control the black tortoise array. Therefore, the only one who could control the black tortoise array was Wang Daoyuan. Although he was only in the 6th stage of the foundation establishment stage, his spiritual energy was robust and his spiritual sense was powerful. Therefore, he could fully unleash the power of the black tortoise array. Therefore, the 12th uncle, Wang Shui, informed him to leave seclusion to protect the patriarch. When Wang Daoyuan arrived at the entrance of the cave residence of the 5th great-uncle, the great-grandfather and the 12th uncle were already waiting there. However, there were no fluctuations of spiritual energy or spiritual sense in the cave residence. Obviously, the breakthrough had not officially begun. He asked the 12th uncle, "What's the situation now?" The 12th uncle replied, "5th uncle has some comprehension of the Purple Mansion realm, and the opportunity to open the purple mansion has appeared. However, his preparations are still lacking. The success rate of breaking through now is not high. Now, fifth uncle is taking the soul strengthening pill and the body accumulation pill to improve his soul cultivation and physical strength. However, the comprehension is fleeting. It may be too late to improve his soul cultivation and physical strength now. Wang Daoyuan took out a storage bag and said with a smile, I still have some spiritual items that can improve the spiritual sense and physical strength. They are much stronger than the soul strengthening pill and the body accumulation pill. Maybe there is some hope. Wang Shi asked, what spiritual items? Wang Daoyuan opened the storage bag and said, 20 dark jade lotus seeds and 100 dragon heart fruits. The voice of the fifth great uncle came out from the cave residence. With these two things, maybe there is still hope. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and closed the restriction of the cave residence. He opened the door and entered. He saw the fifth great uncle sitting cross-legged on a futon with his eyes closed. He handed the storage bag to the fifth great uncle and said, I have a spell that is also good for strengthening the body. Do you want to try it? He was talking about the Azure Dragon Pearl. The vitality provided by the Azure Dragon Pearl had some auxiliary effect on strengthening the body. The fifth great uncle nodded and did not speak. Chapter 263. Afterward, Wang Daoyuan used the excuse of preparing spells to return to the cave residence and used the Azure Dragon Pearl to extract the life force of the ferocious blood boars. Not only were these guys powerful, but they were also suitable for extracting essence blood, making grade 2 spirit ink, and refining beast blood pills. Their life force was so strong that the Azure Dragon Pearl was full after the 3 ferocious blood boars were drained. It seemed that the strength of the body and blood were closely related to life force. He didn't put away the Azure Dragon Pearl and ran directly to his fifth granduncle's cave residence. Wang Jian ate the dragonheart fruit and used its medicinal power to strengthen his body. Wang Daoyuan also used the Azure Dragon Pearl to release a dark green light that illuminated his fifth granduncle's body. With both internal and external, Wang Jian's physical strength improved significantly. After refining 20 or so dragonheart fruits, the life force in the Azure Dragon Pearl was almost depleted. He stopped refining and waved to Wang Daoyuan. My body is just barely enough. No need to use spells. With that, he ate a black jade lotus seed and began refining it. Wang Daoyuan didn't use the Azure Dragon Pearl anymore. He didn't have any spells to strengthen his soul, so there was no point in staying in the cave residence. Half a day later, Wang Jian's voice came from the cave residence. My soul has just barely reached the minimum level. I can try to open the Violet Palace. Wang Shui ordered, Dao Yuan, go activate the black tortoise repelling water formation and guard the core. Wang Daoyuan acknowledged and ran to the ancestral shrine. The core of the black tortoise repelling water formation was in the ancestral shrine. Activating and controlling the formation required going through the core. Tai Gong also came to the ancestral shrine. He formed a complicated hand seal with both hands and hit the ancestral tablet of Wang Qingzu. The ancestral tablet flickered with light. Then, there was a sound from under the altar table and a hole appeared. Tai Gong went into the hole under the altar table. After 5 minutes, he came out with a piece of purple wood. He smiled at Wang Daoyuan and said, the ancestor didn't leave many good things behind. The purple cloud wood core is gone, and only this piece of 1,000-year-old purple cloud wood is left. Although its effects couldn't be compared to the purple cloud wood core, it was still somewhat useful. This is the only thing that's useful for establishing the Violet Palace realm. In the future, when you and Shui establish the Violet Palace realm, the clan won't be able to help you. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, it doesn't matter. After we deal with Fallen Dragon Ridge, I will go and trick one. Tai Gong left the ancestral temple. Wang Daoyuan went to the array eye and controlled the core of the array to activate it. The entire Jade Spring Peak was enveloped in a layer of aqua-blue light barrier. A huge shadow of a black tortoise appeared above the light shield. Outside Jade Spring Peak, the cultivators on the surface of the water were alarmed by the black tortoise's image. Some foundation-building loose cultivators also arrived outside Jade Spring Peak. An elderly cultivator among them asked curiously, "What is this Wang clan doing now?" Another rogue cultivator continued, "I heard that Wang Daoyuan of the Wang clan made great contributions to the Netherworld sect. The Lord of the Netherworld sect personally rewarded the Wang family with 2 foundation-building elixirs. It might be that someone in the Wang family had reached the foundation-building realm. This matter also happened before. More than 10 years ago, 3 people of the Wang clan reached foundation establishment on the same day. At that time, they activated the Great Protective Mountain Formation. Speaking of which, this Wang clan is really wasteful. They already have 8 foundation establishment cultivators. I heard that one of their clansmen who joined the Netherworld sect reached foundation establishment as well. Now that they have a foundation establishment pill, they should keep it for future generations. Why is there another person who wants to establish his foundation?" Another person said, "Who cares? They have the ability to obtain a foundation establishment pill. Even if they throw it away, it has nothing to do with us. Let's just watch the show." At this time, Wang Jian's immortal cave was very quiet. There wasn't the slightest fluctuation of spiritual power. This situation lasted for a day. Wang Daoyuan even thought that his 5th granduncle had failed in his breakthrough. Suddenly, a powerful spiritual sense fluctuation spread throughout the entire Jade Spring Peak. Wang Jian's immortal cave emitted a dazzling purple light. Even the stone walls of the immortal cave couldn't block it in the slightest. The meridians between the Sea of Consciousness and Dantian had all been opened, and the Violet Palace had begun to be established. At this point, it could be said that he had already succeeded in half. As long as there was enough pure yin and pure yang qi in his soul and body, as well as the purple qi in the 1,000-year-old purple cloud wood, establishing the Violet Palace was a sure thing. A quarter of an hour later, a mid-grade 2nd-rank demonic bird rushed towards the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan immediately controlled the black tortoise's projection to attack the demonic bird. The black tortoise was a tortoise with a black snake coiled on its back. Under Wang Daoyuan's control, the black snake suddenly flew out and bit the demonic bird, entangling it. The demonic bird quickly stopped struggling and fell outside the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan used the water spiritual power in the Great Formation to condense 4 large words above the Jade Spring Peak: "Death to trespassers." Not long after, an old man wearing a green robe appeared outside the mountain. The outline of a mountain peak was embroidered on his green robe. He shouted, "Liang Liang of the Clear Sky Peaks, Liang family has come to pay a visit. Wang family, please remove the Great Formation and let this old man in." Even a dog could see that this old thing was clearly here to cause trouble. Wang Daoyuan naturally wouldn't believe his nonsense. There were many loose cultivators in the surroundings, and they naturally knew Yang Liang's purpose. However, they all had the mentality of watching a good show and didn't mind the matter blowing up. Using the spiritual power in the Great Formation, he rode in the air. Jade Spring Peak is honored by Elder Liang's visit. However, it is inconvenient for the Wang family to receive guests. I hope Elder Liang will be magnanimous enough to forgive us. Seeing these words, Liang Liang said unhappily, "The Wang family is so ostentatious. This old man has come to pay a visit as the Purple Palace Elder of the Netherworld sect. You actually dare to use the Great Formation to block this elder outside the mountain gate. Is the Wang family looking down on the Netherworld sect?" Hearing Liang Liang's words, Wang Daoyuan wasn't worried. Instead, he was happy. If this old guy wanted to talk big, then he wasn't afraid. He could accompany him for a day. Relying on his eloquence, he could flatter him for a day, and it wouldn't be repeated. However, in order to prevent 5th granduncle from being disturbed, he transmitted his voice to Wang Shui, 12th uncle. Use water to create 2 layers of protective shields and surround 5th granduncle's cave residence. Remember, the protective shields must be made of real water. You can't use water spiritual power. Also, there must be a gap between the two water shields. Wang Shui knew that he wouldn't speak without thinking, so he immediately did as he was told. Now that Elder Jean had yet to recover from his serious injuries and the Netherworld sect's upper echelons were intentionally suppressing the foreign sect, Liang Liang and the other foreign sect elders didn't dare to be as arrogant as before. With Liang Liang's courage, the possibility of him directly using magic or divine sense to attack the Great Formation wasn't high. However, it was still very possible for him to hide a sound wave attack in his voice and interfere with Fifth Granduncle's establishment of the Purple Palace. The two water shields were formed precisely to guard against Liang Liang's move. He continued to use water spiritual power to condense words and chat with Liang Liang. In order to stall for time, he even deliberately slowed down the speed of condensing words. He wrote, "The Wang clan is merely a foundation establishment clan. How could they dare to look down on an elder of the Netherworld sect, let alone look down on the Netherworld sect? It's just that the Wang clan has some inconveniences. I hope Elder Liang can forgive us." Liang Liang angrily said, "What inconveniences? That's not a reason to look down on an elder of the Netherworld sect." Wang Daoyuan continued to write, "I hope Elder Liang can forgive us. We'll definitely pay you a visit to make amends in the future." Liang Liang coldly snorted and angrily roared, "Immediately open the Great Formation and welcome me. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." This angry roar was mixed with a sound wave attack. However, Liang Liang also had a sense of propriety. This sound wave attack would only disturb a cultivator's state of mind and wouldn't cause any casualties. Moreover, the target of this sound wave attack was precisely the place where the purple light was emitted. The other people on Jade Spring Peak weren't affected much. Seeing that Liang Liang had shed all pretense of cordiality, Wang Daoyuan no longer feigned civility. He condensed words and replied, "The Wang clan is under the jurisdiction of Elder Yang, the guardian of Clear Glass Market. Elder Liang doesn't have the authority to mobilize our Wang clan's cultivators. Since Elder Liang has come with the status of an elder of the Netherworld sect, I wonder which senior ordered you to force our Wang clan to open the Great Formation?" Chapter 264. Wang Daoyuan spoke more tactfully. "To put it bluntly," he said, "who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to order me around?" Liang Liang had lived for more than 400 years and was only a few years away from the end of his lifespan. What hadn't he seen before? How could he not understand the meaning of these words? He said angrily, "It seems Wang clan really doesn't care about Netherworld sect. I'm a dignified Zifu elder, yet I still need to follow someone else's orders to enter Jade Spring Peak." Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't hold back. He continued to condense words, "My Wang clan has a cultivator who opened Zifu, so I activated the Great Protective Formation. Anyone who knows a little about human affairs should know to avoid it. Elder Liang, you came here and ordered me to close the Great Protective Formation. Could it be that you want to interrupt my Wang clan's cultivator from opening Zifu? Could it be that the rumor is true? Elder Liang wants to exterminate my Wang clan to avenge someone?" After shedding all pretense of cordiality, Liang Liang couldn't do anything about it. Not to mention that the Netherworld sect's external forces were in a bit of a slump. Even when the external forces were at their peak, no one dared to openly disturb the cultivators of the Netherworld sect's subordinate forces from breaking through. If they did, even a Zifu elder wouldn't be able to escape death. Liang Liang naturally didn't have the guts to admit this, nor did he dare to use force. That would be tantamount to admitting that he came to disturb the breakthrough. He had no choice but to explain, "I didn't mean that. I didn't know Wang clan had someone who opened Zifu. I just wanted to visit Wang clan. Since I know Wang clan has someone who opened Zifu, as a neighbor, how could I not lend a helping hand? I can also protect you. Please close the array formation and let me in." Wang Daoyuan replied with words, "Wang clan appreciates Elder Liang's good intentions, but Wang clan does have some inconveniences. I hope Elder Liang won't blame us." Liang Liang had been rebuffed before, so he didn't dare to use force. Just as he was in a dilemma, a sword light came from the south. As it got closer, he heard a voice. Wang clan has someone who opened Zifu. I came to protect you. The person who came was precisely Yang Yong. When he arrived outside the Jade Spring Peak and saw that Liang Liang was also here, he cupped his hands and said, "What a coincidence, is Elder Liang also here to protect me?" Seeing Yang Yong arrive, Liang Liang knew that there was no chance for him to cause trouble anymore. Smiling awkwardly, he said, "This old man is indeed also here to stand guard. It's just that the Wang family is quite hostile towards this old man and is unwilling to allow this old man to enter." Yang Yong said with a smile, "Establishing the Violet Palace is a major matter. Only the cultivators of one's own family are allowed to guard the Dharma protector. Moreover, the Wang family's black tortoise water warding formation was also quite extraordinary. Even if there were thieves, it would be difficult for them to force their way in. The two of us can just stand guard outside the formation. I believe that the Wang clan will also owe Elder Liang a favor." Once Yang Yong said these words, Liang Liang was naturally unable to say anything else. In terms of cultivation, the two of them were on par, but Yang Yong was 50 to 60 years younger. In terms of magical combat, Liang Liang was a wood attribute cultivator and was the worst at it. On the other hand, Yang Yong was a fire-type cultivator and was good at fighting. In terms of status, Liang Liang was only an elder without any duties. He did not have any actual authority in the Netherworld sect. On the other hand, Yang Yong was the guardian of Clear Glass Market Square, responsible for managing the various clans in the northern part of Clear Glass Prefecture. He was the Wang family's immediate superior. No matter how one looked at it, Liang Liang could not compare to Yang Yong. If Yang Yong could wait outside Jade Spring Peak's mountain protecting formation, Liang Liang was even less qualified to clamor about going in. He could only pray in his heart that the Wang family's person who opened the Zifu would fail. Wang Daoyuan also used the water spiritual energy in the formation to condense words, saying, "Many thanks to the two elders for their kindness." Without external threats, time passed very quickly. 4 to 6 hours quickly passed, and the purple light around Wang Jian's Immortals cave became more and more dazzling. Soon, a purple ball the size of a longan appeared out of thin air. The ball continuously absorbed the purple light, slowly growing larger. Only when it reached the size of a fist did it stop growing. At this moment, a blue spiritual energy appeared beside the purple ball, transforming into a 10-zhang long dragonfish, exactly the same as the Wang family's emblem. Yang Yong saw the dragonfish through the black tortoise water warding formation, saying, "I didn't expect to see a dragonfish again after 300 years. To be able to trigger the Zifu phenomenon, this person's talent is not bad." Wang Daoyuan had also read the ancestors' notes on establishing the Zifu, so he had some understanding of the Zifu phenomenon. The Zifu phenomenon was a phenomenon that appeared when the Zifu was established, other than the formation of the Zifu and the transformation of the soul into the divine soul. This Zifu phenomenon was relatively mysterious, but there were traces that could be followed. It was related to the cultivator's cultivation method, magic technique, and obsession. The Zifu phenomenon did not appear when all cultivators established the Zifu. However, the phenomenon in the Violet Palace realm wasn't rare. About 20% of Zifu cultivators would have a phenomenon when they established the Zifu. The Zifu phenomenon was also related to the minor divine abilities of the Golden Core stage, and even Yuanying. Wang Jian's Purple Palace had resulted in the appearance of the dragonfish. If he could comprehend a lesser sacred art in the future, it would definitely be related to the dragonfish. Moreover, cultivators who did not have a phenomenon when they established the Zifu would not be able to comprehend minor divine abilities or divine abilities in the future. The dragonfish swam around the purple sphere, and its body became smaller as it got closer to the sphere. In the end, it turned into a dragonfish pattern that was engraved on the purple sphere. A human-shaped mist floated out of the cave and gradually shrunk until it was 3 inches tall. At this moment, the human-shaped mist became very solid, and one could clearly see its appearance. It was no different from Wang Jian. However, its body was still made of mist. Then, the mist person walked towards the purple sphere. When it reached the purple sphere, the mist person wanted to enter, but there was no way out. The mist person sat cross-legged in front of the purple sphere with its eyes closed, as if it was comprehending something. This was the inner demon tribulation, and it was also the final obstacle to becoming a Zifu realm cultivator. After overcoming the inner demon tribulation, a door would open in the purple sphere. The mist person would enter the door, and the process of establishing the Zifu would be completed. Now, all that was left was to nurture the soul, transform it into the divine soul, and stabilize the realm. If one couldn't overcome the inner demon tribulation, their life would not be in danger and they would only become a half-step Zifu realm cultivator. Once the Zifu was formed, the soul would not be able to enter and transform into the divine soul. A half-step Zifu realm cultivator only needed to raise their mental state, and their soul would easily enter the Zifu. Thus, most half-step Zifu realm cultivators would be able to become true Zifu realm cultivators in a short period of time. It was almost impossible to find a half-step Zifu realm cultivator in the outside world. The mist person sat in front of the purple sphere for 15 minutes before suddenly opening its eyes, which flickered with a purple light. The light shone on the purple sphere, and a door immediately appeared, allowing the mist person to enter. Then, the purple sphere slowly descended and landed in between Wang Jian's eyebrows. The purple light outside completely disappeared, and there was no movement at all. Yang Yong smiled. The Zifu realm has been formed. From now on, the Wang clan is a Zifu realm clan. Half a day later, the unique spiritual sense of a Zifu realm cultivator spread out. This was the sign that the soul had transformed into the divine soul. At this point, Wang Jian had officially become a Zifu realm cultivator, and the next step was to stabilize his cultivation. A moment later, the spiritual sense disappeared. At the same time, a 300-meter wide whirlpool of blue spiritual energy appeared in the air above Wang Jian's cave. His Zifu realm had been formed, and his soul had been nurtured into the divine soul, but his physical body was still at the peak of foundation establishment. The reason he was absorbing spiritual energy now was to raise his physical body's cultivation. The spiritual energy whirlpool lasted for 4 hours before gradually shrinking and disappearing. Then, Wang Jian walked out of the cave and cupped his hands towards the sky. Many thanks to the 2 elders for protecting me. Please come in for a chat. Wang Daoyuan immediately deactivated the black tortoise water driving formation and walked out of the ancestral shrine to welcome the 2 elders. Yang Yong's face was filled with joy as he landed on Jade Spring Peak. As for Liang Liang, he coldly snorted and left. Chapter 265. Wang Jian, Wang Daoyuan, and the others bowed together. Greetings, Senior Yang, Old Ancestor Yang. Yang Yong waved his hand. There's no need to be so courteous. Jian has also established his Violet Palace, so we can address each other as equals in the future. Wang Jian hurriedly declined. The Wang and Yang clans have been friends for hundreds of years, so we naturally have seniority. How can we be like wandering cultivators? Yang Yong didn't insist on addressing each other as equals and smiled. Since that's the case, then I'll shamelessly address myself as a senior. Jian, please don't go out for a period of time. According to the Netherworld sect's rules, any subsidiary clan that establishes a Violet Palace will be appointed as an elder. I'll go back and recommend you to the sect master. It won't be long before the sect sends someone over. At that time, you can follow them to the Netherworld sect to be conferred the title by the sect master. Wang Jian cupped his hands. I'll follow senior's instructions. Yang Yong and Wang Jian exchanged a few words before leaving in a hurry. Violet Palace realm cultivators were considered high-end forces to the 3 great sections. Every single Violet Palace realm cultivator was valuable. Especially when Wang Jian was only 160 years old and there was a phenomenon when he established his Violet Palace. Even if he couldn't break through to the Golden Core realm in the future, it wouldn't be a problem for him to cultivate to the peak of the Violet Palace realm. The Golden Core realm cultivators of the 3 great sects were strategic deterrents that couldn't be used unless it was a life and death battle. A peak Violet Palace realm cultivator was already the strongest force that could be deployed. Now that a cultivator with the potential to reach the peak of the Violet Palace realm had appeared, Yang Yong naturally didn't dare to underestimate him. Furthermore, this matter was also beneficial to Yang Yong. Although the Netherworld sect required all Violet Palace realm cultivators to join the sect, new Violet Palace realm cultivators still had to go through the process. They would be recommended by the Violet Palace realm elders of the sect, and the higher-ups would give the order to recruit them. He was ordered to oversee a region, and if someone established a Violet Palace realm under his command, then it would be due to his management and the sect would naturally reward him. Recommending a Violet Palace realm cultivator to the sect would also allow him to obtain the merit of recommending talents for the sect. Although the merit of recommending talents wasn't much, it would leave a good impression on the higher-ups of the sect that they weren't envious of talents and were wholeheartedly devoted to the sect. Since there were lucrative positions in the Netherworld sect, the higher-ups would naturally give priority to those with a good impression. In addition, the recommender and the recommender were natural allies. After Wang Jian entered the Underworld sect, he would naturally stand with him. He could also expand his influence. Opening the Purple Mansion was a big event, so the Wang family naturally had to prepare a celebration. After the Netherworld sect appointed the elders, they would invite their friends and relatives to come and congratulate them. The clan was very lively, and it was not suitable for him to continue cultivating. In the clan, there were already a dozen or so disciples of the Ming generation who had reached adulthood. He didn't need to care about these trivial matters. He simply greeted his second brother and ran to Linji Mountain to continue his cultivation. After his fifth great-uncle broke through to the Violet Palace realm, he would have to participate in the affairs of the Netherworld sect in the future. In addition, Zifu disciples weren't allowed to fight in the outer perimeter of the Heavenrend mountain range, as that would draw out rank 3 demonic beasts. Most of the third-rank demonic beasts had intelligence similar to that of ordinary people. A few third-rank demonic beasts with high intelligence could even speak human language. They didn't care about Foundation establishment cultivators and Chi refinement cultivators causing trouble in the heavenly/mountain range. If a Zifu disciple entered, it would be fine if he didn't cause any trouble. But if he engaged in battle and caused a huge commotion, if he didn't immediately flee, he would definitely be attacked by the third-rank monstrous beasts. Thus, he couldn't count on his fifth granduncle in the Fallen Dragon Ridge. He had to rely on himself. On Linji Mountain, the cave abode left behind by the Crimson Fire Ape had already been turned into a wine cellar. The ingredients needed to brew the spiritual peach dew were all cultivated on Linji Mountain. It was best to brew and store the spiritual peach dew in the cellar on Linji Mountain. The cave abode had also been expanded and there were over 1,000 jars of spiritual peach dew stored in it. The spiritual energy in the wine cellar was extremely dense, so Wang Daoyuan went into seclusion in the wine cellar. He consumed 1/10 of the earth vein spiritual essence and circulated the 5 spirits immortal transformation art to refine the essence to increase his cultivation. In the past 5 years, his cultivation had reached the 6th level of the Foundation establishment realm. After consuming the Dragonheart fruit, his physique had also been greatly improved. He could consume 1/10 of the earth vein spiritual essence every half a month. A month later, Wang Daoyuan consumed 1/10 of the earth vein spiritual essence for the 3rd time and finally broke through to the 7th level of the Foundation establishment realm. A month later, Wang Jian returned to the Jade Spring Peak after receiving his title from the Netherworld sect. The news of him breaking through to the Violet Palace realm, becoming an elder of the Netherworld sect, and the Wang clan's Violet Palace celebration had spread out. On the day of the Violet Palace celebration, Wang Daoyuan also returned to the Jade Spring Peak to receive the guests. Most of the clans in the northern region of the Clearglass County had sent their Violet Palace realm cultivators to congratulate him. Even some of the Liang clan's lackeys had come. Only the Liang and Huang clans were absent. The Liang and Wang clans were mortal enemies and there was no room for reconciliation. The Huang clan owed a debt back then and they relied on the Liang clan to survive. Hence, they didn't dare to offend the Liang clan. There were also several Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators from the River Sun County that came to congratulate him. What was most surprising was that the clans in the central region of the Clearglass County had also sent people over. The Wang clan didn't have any business dealings with the clans in the central region of the Clearglass County. The Qin clan's patriarch, Qin Yuansheng, was the last to arrive with a few Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. Ever since the Wang clan's patriarch died in battle, the Wang clan and Qin clan no longer had any dealings. Hence, the reason why they came to congratulate him was puzzling. Qin Yuansheng had met Wang Daoyuan before. Back then, there was a small beast tide and Wang Daoyuan was summoned to provide support with dozens of Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. The first battle with the beast tide happened in the Qin clan's territory. As for the other Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators that came with Qin Yuansheng, Wang Daoyuan didn't know any of them. Although they looked unfamiliar, their gifts weren't light. Every single one of them had brought a list of gifts. The one to announce the gift was his eighth uncle, Wang Shoujiang. When he saw the list of gifts, he was stunned. However, his eighth uncle was experienced and this wasn't a big deal. He announced, Jade Spring Mountain Sioux Clan, 3 high-grade second-grade magic artifacts and 20 soul-strengthening pellets. Alchemy Celestial Mountain Shin Clan, 500 caddies of 3rd grade cinnabar and 20 origin condensing pellets. These clans didn't have any dealings with the Wang clan. Suddenly, they gave such a generous gift. It was a bit confusing. Wang Daoyuan thought for a while and realized that the main spirit veins of these clans weren't far from 100 Spirit Mountain. When the beast tide was dealt with, many high-grade second-grade and middle-grade demonic beasts escaped into 100 Spirit Mountain. With these beasts occupying 100 Spirit Mountain, the surrounding clans' businesses in the mountain were all finished. 100 Spirit Mountain stretched for hundreds of miles. There were countless spirit fields, forests, and mines. The surrounding clans suffered heavy losses. Moreover, these demonic beasts would often rush out of 100 Spirit Mountain and attack the spirit mountains of the surrounding clans. The Wang clan didn't have any dealings with the central region of Qingli County. Wang Daoyuan naturally didn't pay attention to 100 Spirit Mountain and didn't know if this matter was resolved. Could it be that these people came to ask his fifth uncle to help clear 100 Spirit Mountain? After the clans of the central region of Qingli County arrived, the cultivators of the Netherworld sect also arrived. They were a Zifu Realm cultivator and a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator. When a Zifu Realm cultivator arrived, Wang Jian personally went to greet him. The Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators present also stood up and bowed. The Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator who came with the Zifu Realm cultivator was Wang Daolong. The Zifu Realm cultivator was Wang Daolong's master, Luo Xianming. Wang Jian bowed and said, I didn't expect Senior to come personally. Please forgive me for not coming out to greet you. Luo Xianming waved his hand and said, Daolong is my disciple. We're all family. There's no need for this. You and I are both Zifu Realm cultivators. We can address each other as equals. Wang Daolong bowed and said, Greetings, fifth uncle. Congratulations on establishing your Zifu realm. Then, Wang Daolong took out a gift box and a list of gifts and gave them to his eighth uncle, Wang Shoujiang. Wang Shoujiang took the list and said, Netherworld sect, 3 low-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts, 10 low-grade 3rd-grade talismans, and 20 purple rhythm pellets. Chapter 266. By now, Wang Jian was already a Zifu elder of the Netherworld sect, and the Wang clan was the representative of the Wang clan, which had thrown itself into the embrace of the Netherworld sect. It was within his expectations that the Netherworld sect would send such a gift. In order to show his respect, Wang Jian personally led the two of them in. Those who might come to congratulate him had already arrived, and the celebration was about to begin. A flying boat came from the south. When it got closer, he saw that it was a late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. That person controlled the flying boat to land in front of Wang Daoyuan and cupped his hands. I Changxing of the Divine Weapon Pavilion greets Daoyu. May I ask if Daoyu is Wang Daoyuan? Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Yi Daoyu. I am Wang Daoyuan." Yi Changxing smiled and said, "I was ordered by Grand Master Lei Yan to congratulate the Grand Elder of the Wang clan. Also, Martial Uncle Wang asked me to bring some things to Daoyu." Yi Changxing handed an interspatial pouch to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan took the interspatial pouch and brought Yi Changxing to the entrance of the hall. Yi Changxing handed over a gift box and a list of gifts to Wang Shoujiang. Wang Shoujiang received the list and said, "Divine Weapon Pavilions Daoist Lei Yan, 5 high-grade second-tier magic tools, 3 low-grade third-tier magic tools, and 2 mid-grade third-tier magic tools." Everyone present, including Luo Xianming, was shocked. The Divine Weapon Pavilion never participated in the conflicts between the various powers. In the Zhao country, the Divine Weapon Pavilion would only participate in the celebrations of the 3 sections. It wasn't a secret that the Wang clan's Wang Daoyin had become Lei Yan's disciple, so it wasn't strange for the Divine Weapon Pavilion to send someone over. Furthermore, the gifts weren't sent in the Divine Weapon Pavilion's name, but Lei Yan's name. However, the gifts were too heavy. A total of 5 third-grade magic tools. Especially the mid-grade third-grade magic tools. Even the 3 sects wouldn't be willing to give them out casually. Of course, these things were nothing to Lei Yan. Lei Yan was a high-grade 4th-grade blacksmith. He was one of the best blacksmiths in the entire Beiyuan Shuxian. If not for the lack of 5th-tier materials, becoming a 5th-tier armament master would not be difficult. To him, a Tier 3 magic tool was something that he could casually refine for fun. He didn't put it in his eyes at all. Due to the rules of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Changxing did not dare to stay for long. He cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and said, "I have also brought the things that Martial Uncle Wang asked me to bring. Also, Martial Uncle Wang asked me to tell Daoyu that he has reached the foundation establishment stage, and his refining technique has reached the 2nd level of low grade. Daoyu doesn't have to worry about him. If Daoyu has anything to bring to Martial Uncle Wang, you can just hand it over to me at the Divine Weapon Pavilion in Qingli City." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Then I'll have to trouble Daoyu in the future." After exchanging a few pleasantries with Wang Daoyuan, Changxing took his leave. Knowing that Wang Daoyin had reached the foundation establishment stage and was already a 2nd-rank low-grade weapon refiner, all the cultivators present had some thoughts in their hearts. Wang Daoyin's cultivation speed had never been outstanding, but to be able to catch the eye of Daoist Lei Yan, he definitely wasn't ordinary. He had only been a disciple for 10 years, but he had already become a 2nd-rank low-grade weapon refiner. This meant that he was extremely talented in refining. To be able to satisfy Daoist Lei Yan with his talent in refining, he must be highly regarded by Daoist Lei Yan. Thus, it was certain that he would become a Violet Palace realm cultivator in the future. It was also very possible for him to become a Golden Core realm cultivator. If Wang Daoyin became a Violet Palace realm cultivator of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, then the Wang clan's status and strength would also rapidly rise. In the future, it would only be a matter of time before the Wang clan regained the glory of Wang Qingzu's era. Although building a good relationship now couldn't be considered as timely assistance, it was still better than fawning over the Wang clan after they became a Golden Core realm clan. After Yi Changxing left, the celebration immediately began. First, the Grand Duke personally read the funeral oration and reported to the old ancestor that a Violet Palace realm cultivator had appeared after 300 years of decline. After that, it was the preaching session. Wang Jian and Luo Xianming, the 2 Violet Palace realm cultivators, discussed their understanding of the Violet Palace realm and explained their experience in breaking through to the Violet Palace realm to the Foundation Establishment realm cultivators present. This was the most important thing for Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. For celebrations like breaking through to the next realm, there was no need to prepare a banquet. For cultivators, preaching the Tao was more important than a banquet. After the preaching, all the cultivators left. Even Luo Xianming brought Wang Daolong and left the Jade Spring Peak to return to the Netherworld sect. However, the cultivators of the clans in the central region of Clearglass County refused to leave. In the hall, there were 3 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators from the Wang clan: Wang Shui, Wang Daoyuan, and Wang Daochang. As the patriarch of the Violet Palace realm, Wang Shui couldn't speak casually. Thus, Wang Daoyuan spoke first. He cupped his hands and said, "The Wang clan doesn't have any relationship with any of you. May I know why Dao Yu has brought such a generous gift?" Qin Yuansheng cupped his hands and said, 20 years ago, I fought side by side with Dao Yu. At that time, Dao Yu was only at the first level of the Foundation Establishment realm. I didn't expect that in just 20 years, Dao Yu would already be at the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Wang Daoyuan used the aura concealment technique to disguise himself as a 5th level Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Cultivators below the Violet Palace realm wouldn't be able to tell at all. Qin Yuansheng paused for a moment and continued, "Today, we did come because we have something to ask of you. This matter is related to the small beast tied 20 years ago. At that time, we relied on Daoyu's help in the northern region of Clearglass County to repel the beast tide and protect our Qin clan. However, the remaining dozens of second-tier high-grade and mid-grade demonic beasts fled into the 100 Spirit Mountain. The 100 Spirit Mountain was a prosperous place with many spirit fields, forests, and mines. After this group of demonic beasts entered, the surrounding clans had no choice but to give up all their properties in the 100 Spirit Mountain. If that was all, they could still accept it. However, these demonic beasts would often sneak out and attack the properties of the nearby clans. The clans had also organized teams to encircle and suppress the demonic beasts, but these demonic beasts were extremely cunning and wouldn't easily show themselves. Each encirclement and suppression of the demonic beasts used up enormous amounts of manpower and resources, but the results were minimal. As a result, the cultivators of the various clans didn't dare to take a single step out of their clans, lest the clan's spirit mountain be breached by the demonic beasts. The patriarch of the Alchemy Celestial Mountains Qin clan continued, "In the past 20 years, the Foundation Establishment realm cultivators of the clans around the 100 Spirit Mountain didn't even dare to enter a meditative state. We knew that this matter wasn't something that Foundation Establishment realm cultivators could resolve, so we asked Violet Palace realm cultivators for help many times. However, the Netherworld sect and the Crescent Sun Palace have always been in conflict, so most of their Violet Palace realm cultivators were stationed at the western border. Although the two sects have reconciled, the Netherworld sect is preparing to deal with the Origin Sword sect in the northern part of the mountain. The Violet Palace realm cultivators in the southern region of Clearglass County are also on guard against the Myriad Spirit sect. There are no Violet Palace realm cultivators in the central region of Clearglass County, and only Elder Yang is stationed in the northern region. However, Elder Yang has a heavy responsibility and can't leave Clearglass City for long periods of time. Senior Wang has just opened his Violet Palace and shouldn't have a position yet. Therefore, I would like to ask Senior Wang to take action and deal with the beast hordes in the 100 Spirit Mountain. My Qin clan's Alchemy Celestial Mountain has a high-grade Tier 2 cinnabar mine nearby. Occasionally, we can mine a few Tier 3 cinnabar ores. I heard that the Wang clan received a Tier 3 talisman inheritance from the Netherworld sect. Presumably, you still lack Tier 3 spirit ink. The Qin clan is willing to sell Tier 3 cinnabar ores to the Wang clan. In addition, if the Wang clan has the intention to do business in the central region of Clearglass County, our clans will definitely help with all our strength. Wang Shui and the other two fell into deep thought. The clan's development target was the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. However, in order to develop the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, they had to sell the various resources they obtained for money. Not to mention the distant ones, in order to swallow and digest the Fallen Dragon Ridge, the various resources produced had to be sold outside of Clearglass City. Although the market in Clearglass City wasn't small, each carat was a pit. The market had already been occupied by the various powers. If they wanted to occupy more of the market, they would have to clash with the other clans. The market in the northern region of Clearglass County had already been filled to the brim with resources in the northern region of Clearglass County. The situation in Shanbei and Green Willow region was changing rapidly. If they were to get involved in the matters there, they would be courting death. Although the market in the southern region of Clearglass County was large enough, it was also far away. However, the central region of Clearglass County was a good choice. Although the market wasn't large, it could be used for emergency purposes. It could also be used as a springboard to develop towards the southern region of Clearglass County. Chapter 267. The conditions offered by the families around the 100 Spirit Mountain were very attractive. Wang Daoyuan had already reached the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. As long as he mastered the 3rd level of the Earth Divine Thunder, he would be able to attack the fallen Dragon Ridge. The Wang clan urgently needed a market to sell resources, and the central region of Clearglass County met this condition. Wang Daoyuan had already obtained a Grade 3 Talisman Inheritance and Blood Dragon Wood that could be used to create low-grade Grade 3 Talisman Papers. Talisman brushes could be purchased from the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Although Grade 3 Talisman brushes weren't easy to buy, the Divine Weapon Pavilion would still give the Wang clan some face. The only thing they lacked was a stable source of Grade 3 Talisman ink. Now that the Alchemy Celestial Mountains Shin clan was willing to provide it, it couldn't be better. Although the Shin clan didn't have much Grade 3 cinnabar, it was stable. The consumption of Grade 3 talismans wasn't high either. A low-grade Grade 3 talisman cost more than 1,000 spirit stones. No one would be willing to throw it away for fun. Foundation establishment clans would buy it as a clan treasure. It was enough to have a small but stable source of energy. Wang Daoyuan and the other two were very tempted, but this matter wasn't easy to deal with. The 100 Spirit Mountains stretched for hundreds of miles, and there were many places where demonic beasts could be hidden. If a Violet Palace Realm cultivator wanted to capture and kill all the demonic beasts, it wasn't something that could be done in a day. No Violet Palace Realm cultivator was willing to spend a lot of time in the 100 Spirit Mountain. Furthermore, Wang Jian had just established his Violet Palace Realm, and he still needed time to learn how to use his divine sense. His ability to search for demonic beasts and his ability to fight was still far from a veteran Violet Palace Realm cultivator. It was still difficult for him to make a move now. The three of them were still deep in thought, and the others were waiting for them to give a reply. Wang Daoyuan suddenly felt a wave of divine sense coming from outside the hall to his 12th uncle. 10 breaths later, Wang Shi replied, "It's not a problem for 5th uncle to wipe out the demonic beasts in the 100 Spirit Mountain, but it's hard to say when. After all, 5th uncle has just broken through to the Violet Palace Realm, and he needs to familiarize himself with the Violet Palace Realm. It will take a long time to completely wipe out the demonic beasts in the 100 Spirit Mountain. 5th uncle doesn't have that much time to stay around the mountain." The Qin family head smiled and said, "As long as Elder Wang is willing to make a move, it's fine. As for when and how to make a move, us juniors naturally won't dare to interfere." This group of people was also very smart. Other than the generous gifts at the beginning, they did not give anything else. Whether it was selling the Tier 3 cinnabar ores or helping to expand their business, they did not suffer any losses. Cinnabar ores had to be sold, and it didn't matter who he did business with. The Wang clan was a Zifu clan, and in the past, it had been a Jindan clan. In order to grow stronger, one had to have some credibility. As long as the Wang clan agreed to help, they wouldn't go back on their word. They didn't need to flatten the 100 Spirit Mountain in one go. As long as they could suppress the demonic beast's arrogance and prevent the various clans from having to worry about their businesses being attacked, they would have profited greatly. Hearing this, Wang Shi nodded and said, "Then there's no problem. The Wang family will help." The cultivators of the 100 Spirit Mountain clan all smiled and cupped their hands in thanks. After that, the three of them sent everyone off. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Immortal Cave to see what his younger brother had sent him. Previously, when he had been outside, there had been a Zifu disciple present, and so he hadn't rashly put the bag of holding back into the space within the Spirit Pearl. After entering the Immortal Cave, he activated the restrictions and opened the bag of holding. The bag of holding wasn't small, and there were many spiritual wood products inside. There were also dense formation patterns on them. He took out all the wooden boards and carefully observed the formation patterns on them. As a high-grade Tier 2 formation master, it was easy for him to distinguish the function of these formation patterns. These were the formation patterns for hovering and propelling formations. There was also a jade slip and a high-grade Tier 2 flexible armor magic artifact in the bag of holding. Wang Daoyuan's divine sense entered the jade slip to see what his younger brother had sent him. From the jade slip, he learned that the wooden products sent by Wang Daoyin were actually the core components of a high-grade Tier 2 flying boat. Once these things were combined and the outer shell was installed, it would be a complete flying boat. Installing an outer shell on a cargo flying boat couldn't be simpler. As long as there was spiritual wood, it would be made into wooden boards and keel, and after some refinement, it would take shape. Zhao Liang was already a middle-grade Tier 2 weapon refiner. Doing this kind of work was just child's play for him. Wang Daoyin knew that the family needed a flying boat, but due to the sex rules, it wasn't good to send it over openly. He could only use this method to smuggle it over. It didn't matter even if he was discovered. Was it against the sex rules to send spiritual wood to his own brother? Was it against the sex rules to carve formation patterns on spiritual wood? As for what these spiritual wood could be combined into, that was the matter of the recipient. It had nothing to do with the divine weapon pavilion. With Lei Yan's protective temper, even if the people of the divine weapon pavilion found out, they wouldn't dare to interfere. Last time, because of Zhao Liang, Lei Yan had beaten up all the Jindan elders of the divine weapon pavilion. Wang Daoyin was more valued than Zhao Liang. Giving gifts didn't violate the sex rules. They turned a blind eye and let it pass. Whoever dared to report it and make a big deal out of it, forcing Lei Yan to beat up the Jindan elders again. In the end, the unlucky one could only be the informant. In addition to the flying boat, Wang Daoyin also learned that Wang Daoyuan had participated in the duel. Knowing that his turtle dragon armor had been destroyed, he specially sent him a soft armor. This soft armor was called the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. It was made from second-tier upper-grade spiritual silk and second-tier upper-grade spiritual material, the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. Wang Daoyin was only a second-tier lower-grade weapon refiner. Naturally, he didn't have the ability to refine the core of the flying boat and the Mystic Jade Golden Silk Armor. Moreover, the formation patterns on the core of the flying boat and the tool patterns on the soft armor were inscribed with very advanced techniques. They were definitely not something that a second-tier upper-grade formation master or weapon refiner could do. Wang Daoyin might have asked a third-tier formation master or weapon refiner to refine it. It might even have been done by Lei Yan himself. He couldn't let down his brother's good intentions. After putting on the golden silk armor, he put away the core of the flying boat and used his divine sense to send a message to Zhao Liang, asking him to come over. After receiving the message, Zhao Liang didn't dare to delay. He quickly arrived at the door of Wang Daoyuan's cave. Wang Daoyuan temporarily closed the cave's restriction and let Zhao Liang in. Then, he opened the restriction again and took out the flying boat core from his storage bag. "Brother-in-law, take a look at this and see if it can be used to build a flying boat." Zhao Liang carefully examined it and said, "This seems to be master's work. The core components are complete. It can be used after adding a shell. As for the shell, apart from the dragon bone, which needs second-tier spiritual wood, the rest can be made of iron quinoa wood." Wang Daoyuan asked, "How long will it take?" Zhao Liang replied, "That depends on how big you want the flying boat. This core component is very high quality. It won't be a problem to install it on a 30-meter-long flying boat. However, I don't have the ability to inscribe a second-tier upper-grade size-changing formation on the dragon bone. You'll have to do it yourself. If you want to build a 30-meter-long flying boat, it will take 2 to 3 years to inscribe defensive tool patterns on the sides and deck." Wang Daoyuan pondered for a while and said, "Just build it according to the size of the wave-chasing boat and try to resemble it as much as possible. If there's a problem with the Netherworld sect, we can also say that they repaired the wave-chasing boat." Zhao Liang had also seen the wave-chasing boat. After thinking for a while, he said, if we build it according to the size of the wave-chasing boat, it will take about a year and a half. I don't have dragon bone materials. Either you chop down a second-tier spiritual wood or give me other spiritual materials, and I'll refine one. However, I still have some difficulties in refining a 15-meter-long dragon bone. I'll need your help. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, the time is fine. The dragon bone materials won't be a problem. There are plenty of second-tier spiritual woods in the heavenly/mountain range. I'll chop down a few good ones and bring them over. This matter must be kept a secret. Just say that you repaired the wave-chasing boat. I'll go tell the patriarch and have him help cover it up. Chapter 268. Wang Daoyuan transmitted his voice to his 12th uncle, telling him that Wang Daoyin had sent him the core of the flying boat and asking him to bring the wave-chasing flying boat over. In the name of repairing the wave-chasing flying boat, he would build a new flying boat. Naturally, he couldn't let the broken wave-chasing flying boat show up again. In just a few dozen breaths, Wang Shui ran to the entrance of the cave residence. After entering the cave residence, he gave the wave-chasing flying boat to Zhao Liang, saying, build the outer shell according to this. The family can finally have a flying boat. Unfortunately, the 6th Prince and Lord Waterfront are in Linhai, so we can't develop there. Daoyuan's strategy of a crafty rabbit having 3 burrows can only have 2. Fortunately, 5th uncle opened up the Purple Mansion, so the Netherworld Sex Cave is temporarily stable. In the future, it will be much easier to move our clansmen with this flying boat. Wang Daoyuan smiled, there are other places without Linhai. It's fine to contact the 9th Prince's descendants. However, we won't need it for now. There are many eyes on Jade Spring Peak, so it's easy to be exposed if we build a spirit boat here. How about we let brother-in-law go to the Spirit Spring Cave residence? Wang Shi thought for a moment, then said, it's indeed not convenient on Jade Spring Peak, so you can send him to the Spirit Spring Cave residence. Wang Daoyuan nodded, saying, then let's do it this way. I can also go to Fallen Dragon Ridge and find some spiritual wood for brother-in-law. Hearing this, Wang Shi asked, you can flatten Fallen Dragon Ridge now? Wang Daoyuan no longer hid his cultivation and revealed his 7th level foundation establishment spiritual power fluctuations. Wang Shui was a little surprised, good boy, you built your foundation more than 20 years later than me, but your cultivation is almost catching up to me. A 7th level foundation establishment cultivator in his early 70s is extremely rare even among the elite disciples of the 3 major sections. In our Wang clan, your combat prowess is only below 5th uncle's. As long as you don't encounter a powerful mutant, you can even fight a peak 2nd level demon beast. I don't dare to compete with you. Wang Daoyuan put the core parts of the flying boat into his storage bag and took away all the iron quinoa wood that could be taken away from the family. As for Zhao Liang, he directly put him into the spirit beast bag. To be on the safe side, he did not head directly to the spiritual spring cavern. Instead, he headed to Linji Mountain first and then used Earth Escape from Linji Mountain to head to the spiritual spring cavern. The one guarding the Spirit Spring Cave was Wang Mingrue, who ranked 3rd in the Ming generation. He had a wood spiritual root of more than 7 inches and walked the path of spiritual plants. Reaching the 8th level of Qi refinement in his 30s, he was also the focus of the family's nurturing. The exact location of the Spirit Spring Cavern was still only known to the elders of the family. For him to be able to guard this place, it could be seen that the family trusted him. Wang Daoyuan didn't use the Spirit Spring bead. He closed the cave's restriction formation from the outside and opened the cave's door. Wang Mingrue was startled when the cave dwelling's restriction suddenly closed and the cave dwelling opened. Seeing someone come in, he was about to make a move, but when he saw that it was Wang Daoyuan, he cupped his hands and said, 7th uncle, why are you here? Wang Daoyuan replied, I need to use the spiritual spring cave for 2 years. I've already informed the clan leader. You can do whatever you want for these 2 years. The monthly salary for guarding this place will be given to you as usual. Don't tell anyone that I have been here." Wang Mingrui was overjoyed. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, seventh uncle." He couldn't help but be happy. Who wouldn't be happy that he didn't have to work and got a free monthly salary? He handed the spirit spring bead to Wang Daoyuan and left. Wang Daoyuan closed the cave dwelling's door, opened the defensive restriction formation and took Zhao Liang out of the spirit beast pouch. Zhao Liang looked at the scene in front of him and asked in surprise, "This is the family's spirit spring cavern? I've always heard of it, but I've never been here. It really is an excellent secret cave dwelling." Zhao Liang was a second-level middle-grade weapon refiner. He was also an elder in the Wang family and was in charge of the newly established weapon refining department. Other than weapon refining, he was also responsible for teaching a few disciples of the family the art of weapon refining. Currently, he had already cultivated 3 first-level middle-grade weapon refiners. Wang Daoyuan gave him the core parts of the flying boat and the iron quinoa wood he brought from Jade Spring Peak. He said, "I'll leave the flying boat to you. I'll go to Fallen Dragon Ridge and chop down some second-level upper-grade spiritual wood." Finishing, he handed the spirit spring bead to Zhao Liang and turned to leave the spirit spring cavern. He still used the earth escape technique to return to Linji Mountain. After showing his face at Linji Mountain, he flew to Fallen Dragon Ridge on his sword. Originally, he wanted to go to Fallen Dragon Ridge to cause trouble after mastering the 3rd level of the Earth Divine Thunder. However, he urgently needed 2nd-level upper-grade spiritual wood to refine the flying boat's keel, so he couldn't care too much. He did have 2nd-level upper-grade spiritual wood in the space of his spirit pearl. For example, the True Essence fruit tree, red-scaled pine, and blood dragon wood. The True Essence fruit tree was too precious, and there was only one in the space of his spirit pearl. He couldn't bear to destroy it just like that. The red-scaled pine and blood dragon wood were materials for burning charcoal, but not for refining weapons, let alone refining the flying boat's keel. The golden jade peach was very suitable for refining the keel, but unfortunately, the highest grade of the golden jade peach in the space was only 2nd-level middle grade. It was very difficult to use it to refine the flying boat's keel. The flying boat was the key to relocating his clansmen, so he naturally had to strive for the best. After he broke through to Foundation Establishment Level 7, there were some changes in the space of his spirit pearl. Similar to when he broke through to Foundation Establishment Level 4, this time, the space of his spirit pearl only increased the density of spiritual qi, reaching the level of 3rd-level lower-grade spiritual vein. Growing in this environment, it was only a matter of time before the blood dragon wood became a 3rd-level spiritual wood. The bark of the 3rd-level blood dragon wood could be used to refine 3rd-level lower-grade talisman paper. There were no suitable spiritual woods in the space of his spirit pearl, but Fallen Dragon Ridge shouldn't lack them. Fallen Dragon Ridge had a 2nd-level upper-grade spiritual vein, and it stretched for more than 1,000 miles. There were many plants on the mountain, so he could always find a suitable spiritual wood. He flew on his sword to the top of a mountain at the westernmost end of Fallen Dragon Ridge. The entire mountain was surrounded by dense trees. Wang Daoyuan used the spirit concealment technique and landed on the top of the mountain to search for suitable spiritual wood. There was a pine forest on the top of the mountain, and the pine trees were not low grade. The worst of them were 2nd-level lower-grade spiritual wood, and 2nd-level middle-grade spiritual wood were very common. There was nothing special about these pine trees. Wang Daoyuan took out his golden-edged sword and cut down a 2nd-level lower-grade pine tree in front of him. He saw that the cut was more than 3 feet in diameter, and the core of the tree was about 1 inch in diameter. It was white like jade, and it was crystal clear. The outer layer was golden. He used the long sword in his hand to gently cut the core of the tree, leaving only a shallow mark. After the golden-edged sword cut through the outer layer of the tree, the sword mark left behind was much deeper. The outer layer was golden, and the inner layer was like jade. It was extremely hard, so it should be a jade bone pine. The jade bone pine could grow to a 3rd-level lower-grade spiritual wood. The wood was hard, strong, and tough, and it was most suitable for refining large magic weapons. However, the jade bone pine was too dense and not suitable for conducting spiritual energy, so its growth was very slow. It also consumed a lot of spiritual energy when used to refine magic weapons. Therefore, the jade bone pine was rarely used to refine magic weapons such as long swords and spiritual armor. Instead, it was often used to refine the keel of a flying boat, the side of a ship, the deck, and the supporting parts of a puppet. Although there were only second-level lower-grade jade bone pines in front of him, they were still spiritual wood that could grow to a third-level lower grade. It was not difficult for them to grow to a second-level upper-grade spiritual wood on a second-level upper-grade spiritual vein. Since there was a large pine forest here, there would naturally be older jade bone pines. He released more than 100 soul-chasing bees and asked them to find the tallest tree in this forest. After living in the space of the spiritual pearl for many years, the soul-chasing bee king finally broke through and became a second-level lower-grade spiritual insect. The newly bred soul-chasing bees also had a cultivation of first-level upper grade, and their flying speed had increased by a lot. However, the cultivation of the ordinary soul-chasing bees was still too low. They could not differentiate between second-level middle-grade spiritual wood and second-level upper-grade spiritual wood, so they could only search for the tallest spiritual wood. Chapter 269. After Wang Daoyuan released the soul-chasing bees, he waited for more than an hour, but not a single soul-chasing bee flew back. The area of this pine forest was not small, and the ground was uneven, but no matter what, hundreds of soul-chasing bees would not be unable to return. The only reasonable explanation was that there was definitely something hidden in this pine forest that could kill the soul-chasing bees. Without the information of the soul-chasing bees, he really did not dare to rashly go deep. However, he had a lot of soul-chasing bees. He would lose some soul-chasing bees to kill all the things hidden in the dark. Fallen Dragon Ridge was to be used as a transit station for the family, and many ordinary clansmen had to live here. For the safety of the clansmen, all the monsters in Fallen Dragon Ridge had to be cleaned up. When he was in the oasis, Wang Daoyuan cultivated a small colony of soul-chasing bees to explore the way. Although he did not use it again, it had been left in the space of the spiritual bead, and now it could be used. He put the small colony and the beehive into the spiritual beast bag, and released more than 10 soul-chasing bees to explore the way in front. He communicated with the soul-chasing bee king with his spiritual sense, so that he could grasp the position of the ordinary soul-chasing bees in time. The soul-chasing bees flew 2 or 3 miles away, and several of them disappeared on the crown of a tall jade-bone pine. Wang Daoyuan immediately recalled the other soul-chasing bees, and slowly approached the tree. When he was only 100 feet away from the tree, he used his spiritual sense to carefully explore the whole tree, but did not find any trace of monsters. He used the sky-peering technique to explore again, but still found nothing. Moreover, the wood of this jade-boned pine was extremely dense, and spiritual sense could not detect the situation inside the branches. He estimated that the thing that killed the soul-chasing bees was very small, hidden in the branches of the jade-boned pine. In this way, the attacker should be some insects. If it was before, he really had no way to deal with these insects. But now, the water attribute spiritual power carried the attribute of Gui water death flame, which could directly attack the soul, and had cold yin qi. Ordinary monsters could not withstand it. The body type with the strongest resistance to cold yin qi was like Yin Yi, who was as fat as a ball. Living creatures with small bodies had very poor resistance to cold yin qi. Wang Daoyuan used the first-tier spell, Rain Transformation, and a 20-meter-wide dark cloud immediately appeared above the treetop. Black raindrops fell from the dark clouds, and the entire tree was shrouded in black fog. The cold yin qi had also caused some damage to the jade-bone pine tree, but spiritual trees did not have souls. Even if it was injured, it would only be a fallen leaf. It would recover after a period of recuperation. On the other hand, the spirit insect's physical body was too small, and the cold yin qi could kill it very quickly. The spirit insect's soul was also relatively weak and couldn't withstand the gui water nether flame's soul-damaging effects. As long as they came into contact with the black fog, their bodies and souls would not be spared. After half a cup of tea's time, a red spider the size of a grain of rice jumped out of the tree trunk and pounced towards Wang Daoyuan. The red spider was a rank 2 middle-grade spirit insect. Spider spirit insects were bound to be poisonous, so he had to be careful when dealing with them. Wang Daoyuan cast the water ball technique, the black water spiritual power condensed into a black water ball, wrapping him up. He also hid 5 rank 2 upper grade earth armor talismans. Once the red spider broke through the water ball, he would immediately activate the earth armor talismans. The red spider was startled by the black water curtain in front of it. It didn't dare to attack again and fell to the ground. The red spider didn't dare to attack, but Wang Daoyuan didn't let it go. He cast the water dragon technique and condensed a black water dragon. Using a water dragon to attack an extremely agile spirit insect was not easy to deal with. He cast the spell that came with the water dragon technique, Water Dragon Prison. A black water bubble about 5 feet in diameter appeared out of thin air around the red spider. Before the red spider could react, it was trapped inside the water dragon prison. Originally, the water dragon prison was only a trapping spell. It could be used to reduce the range of the water dragon prison to kill enemies with weak defense, but the attack power was not great. Wang Daoyuan's water dragon prison had a cold yin qi that attacked the soul and harmed the body. After a few breaths of time, the red spider was completely motionless. For safety's sake, he shrunk the water dragon prison to the smallest size. After half a cup of tea's time, he removed the water dragon prison. The red spider was wrapped in a thin layer of black ice. He probed it with his divine sense and found that the spider had no divine sense fluctuations or signs of life. It was completely dead. He had his doppelganger check the myriad spirit atlas and found out that the red spider was called bloodthirsty wolf spider. Bloodthirsty wolf spiders were rank 2 upper grade demonic beasts. It was said that someone had found a rank 3 lower grade bloodthirsty wolf spider. This thing didn't weave webs and hunted using its combat power and poison. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's poison was the type that could kill upon contact. After being bitten, it would be over in a few breaths of time. This spider liked to live alone. Every bloodthirsty wolf spider occupied a territory of several miles. This was good news for Wang Daoyuan. In this way, there wouldn't be too many bloodthirsty wolf spiders in this pine forest. It would be much easier to clean them up. Although the jade bone pine in front of him was a rank 2 middle grade spiritual wood, it was very close to rank 2 upper grade. If he couldn't find a rank 2 upper grade jade bone pine, this one could be used as the flying boat's keel. The pine forest was uneven. Looking down from the sky on his sword, he couldn't determine which jade bone pine was the tallest. He could only determine where the center of the forest was. However, the oldest tree in a forest was most likely to be in the center of the forest. Wang Daoyuan brought the water dragon armor and flew to the center of the forest, over 2,000 feet in the air. After probing with his divine sense, his face lit up. He found more than one rank 2 upper grade jade bone pine. Because he couldn't be sure if there were rank 2 upper grade bloodthirsty wolf spiders here, he didn't dare to go down directly. Otherwise, if he was ambushed by the bloodthirsty wolf spiders, he wouldn't be able to dodge in time. It was hard to say if the water dragon armor could block an attack from a rank 2 upper grade spiritual insect. He didn't want to waste the soul-chasing bee's lives and directly used the rain transformation technique. Using all his strength, he condensed a dark cloud with a diameter of 300 feet. This time, it wasn't a downpour, but an extremely dense fine rain. When the mountain wind blew, the fine raindrops penetrated every opening. This kind of fine rain conserved spiritual power and had a better coverage effect. Within the area covered by the dark cloud, there wasn't a single place that was completely safe from the attack of the fine rain. After a quarter of an hour, where the rain fell, a cloud of black mist condensed. Soon, a soybean-sized bloodthirsty wolf spider jumped out from a rank 2 upper-grade jade bone pine. This bloodthirsty wolf spider was rank 2 upper-grade, roughly equivalent to a human peak Foundation establishment cultivator. Moreover, it wasn't among the 5 rank 2 upper-grade demonic beasts detected by the soul-chasing bees. It seemed that the soul-chasing bees that had been scouting this area had all been killed. The bloodthirsty wolf spider wasn't just running away, it was attacking Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan didn't know how strong this fellow was, so he first used his sword to dodge the attack. Then, he used the same trick and used the water dragon prison in an attempt to trap it. This bloodthirsty wolf spider wasn't weak. As soon as the water dragon prison was formed, it forcibly broke through. Moreover, the attack of water spiritual power on the soul and the cold air couldn't make it lose its ability to resist in an instant. Then, Wang Daoyuan separated a portion of his spiritual power from the water dragon armor and condensed it into 2 black water dragons that were 30 feet long and attacked the bloodthirsty wolf spider. Although this bloodthirsty wolf spider couldn't fly, it had a few long strands of spider silk on its body that allowed it to float in the air and fly with spiritual power. The 2 black water dragons couldn't hit it at all, let alone kill it. Chapter 270. The spiritual insect, which was comparable to the peak of the Foundation establishment stage, was indeed difficult to deal with. It could still find time to attack Wang Daoyuan with its innate spell even though it was entangled by the 2 water dragons. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's innate spell was to use its venomous fangs to release a sword-like blood-red energy. There was also a pungent smell in the air. It was obvious that it was highly toxic. Wang Daoyuan used the gold-edged sword under his feet to perform the 10,000 sword spell, condensing a long sword shadow and attacking the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider released a sword energy from its venomous fangs to meet the long sword shadow. After his cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of the Foundation establishment stage, the power of his spells had also improved a lot. The long sword shadow of the 10,000 sword spell's power had increased from 2 times to 3 times that of a medium-grade 2nd stage golden knife talisman. However, this long sword shadow was still vulnerable in front of the bloodthirsty wolf spider's energy. When the 2 collided, the long sword shadow disappeared directly, and the bloodthirsty wolf spider's energy did not change much. Wang Daoyuan dodged the attack with his sword and performed the meteor fall technique, condensing a flaming meteorite and attacking the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider still released a blood-red energy with its venomous fangs. After the energy collided with the flaming meteorite, it completely disappeared. The flaming meteorite he used now was equivalent to 15 times that of a medium-grade 2nd stage golden knife talisman. The blood-red energy was equivalent to a flaming meteorite. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's spellcasting speed was not slow, but it was slightly slower than the flaming meteorite. However, with its nimble body, the meteor fall technique alone was not enough to take it down. In this place, he did not dare to fight a battle of attrition. If he fought for too long and attracted other demonic beasts, it would be troublesome. With his current strength, it was not a big problem for him to fight a high-grade 2nd stage demonic beast. If he was surrounded by several demonic beasts, he could only run away. This time, the bloodthirsty wolf spider knew how powerful he was. It would be difficult to change its nest. He did not have the ability to turn the entire pine forest upside down and find a spider the size of a soybean. If this thing was hidden forever, he would not dare to move his clansmen here. Even an ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivator would be powerless in front of the bloodthirsty wolf spider. At that time, he could only let 5th great uncle take the risk and come here. Wang Daoyuan withdrew the 2 water dragons that were entangling the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The power of thunder appeared in his hand, and a fist-sized ball of earthy yellow spirit energy instantly took shape. What he had used was the Earth Divine Thunder. At this moment, the power of the Earth Divine Thunder was equivalent to 25 times that of a middle-grade 2nd level golden knife talisman. The speed at which he unleashed the Earth Divine Thunder was still half a breath's time. He unleashed 3 consecutive Earth Divine Thunders. The power of the Earth Divine Lightning was incomparable to spells of the same level that required charging. Its strength lay in its speed and explosive power. Ordinary instant cast spells contained very little spiritual power and did not require time to compress it. After hitting the enemy and causing damage, it would dissipate into spirit chi. On the other hand, the 5 elements Divine Thunder contained the power of thunder and lightning. It was the only instantaneous spell that had the ability to explode. For demonic beasts like the bloodthirsty wolf spider, which didn't have a strong physical body, a single attack was enough to severely injure it. At this moment, he was only about 300 meters away from the bloodthirsty wolf spider, a distance that the Earth Divine Lightning could cover in an instant. Even if the bloodthirsty wolf spider had an advanced escape technique, it would still be difficult to dodge. Wang Daoyuan unleashed 3 consecutive Earth Divine Thunders. The bloodthirsty wolf spider unleashed 2 streams of energy, but only managed to neutralize one of them. The other 2 Earth Divine Thunders hit the bloodthirsty wolf spider squarely. Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to detect that the bloodthirsty wolf spider had condensed a blood-red shield around its body before the Earth Divine Thunder hit it. This blood-red shield was also extraordinary. It took 2 Earth Divine Thunders to break it. The bloodthirsty wolf spider was sent flying by the 2 Earth Divine Thunders. It seemed that the bloodthirsty wolf spider had used up a lot of its spiritual power to condense the blood-red shield. Naturally, Wang Daoyuan would not give up the opportunity to beat the bloodthirsty wolf spider while it was down. Riding on his long sword, he chased after the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's spiritual power was almost depleted. It could no longer move quickly. Soon, Wang Daoyuan caught up with it. He used the innumerable sword art. The gold-edged sword under his feet condensed a long sword shadow and slashed at the bloodthirsty wolf spider. The bloodthirsty wolf spider could not dodge in time and was cut in half by the long sword shadow. He was still worried. He used the water dragon prison to envelop the 2 halves of the bloodthirsty wolf spider's body. Then, he shrank the water dragon prison into a water ball the size of a longan. 5 minutes later, Wang Daoyuan removed the water dragon prison. The bloodthirsty wolf spider's body was frozen into a black block of ice. When the block of ice fell to the ground, it turned into a red and black powder. Ordinary second-rank demonic beasts could only master 1 innate spell. Third-rank demonic beasts could master many innate spells. It was normal for a third-rank demonic beast with a high-rank demonic beast bloodline to awaken more than 10 innate spells. This bloodthirsty wolf spider had mastered 2 innate spells. It seemed that it was not far from breaking through to the 3rd rank. After killing the bloodthirsty wolf spider, Wang Daoyuan released more than 100 soul-chasing bees to scout the area below. They did not find any traces of living creatures within a radius of 2.5 miles. Only now did he dare to go down and search for the spiritual wood. After landing on the ground, he used his divine sense to scan the surroundings. Only then did he discover that there was more than 1 upper-grade second-rank jade bone pine. One of the jade bone pine was more than 50 meters tall. Its spiritual energy fluctuations were much stronger than the other upper-grade second-rank spiritual woods. This jade bone pine grew in a deep pit. Looking down from above, it was impossible to tell what was different about it. Wang Daoyuan guessed that this was the ancestor of the entire pine forest. If not for the fact that the spirit vein here was only upper-grade second-rank, this jade bone pine would have been a 3rd-rank spiritual wood long ago. Even if the spiritual energy was insufficient, after a long period of accumulation, this jade bone pine was only 1 step away from becoming a 3rd-rank spiritual wood. Wang Daoyuan was reluctant to use it as a keel. It was too wasteful. As long as he frequently used the sweet rain technique on it or set up a spirit gathering formation nearby, the spiritual energy would reach the level of an upper-grade 3rd-rank spirit vein. After a few decades, this jade bone pine would become an upper-grade 3rd-rank spiritual wood. There were more than 10 upper-grade 2nd-rank jade bone pines in the surroundings. Any one of them could be used to refine the keel of the flying boat. This pine forest would be his property in the future. Wang Daoyuan had the idea of sustainable development, so he did not cut down all the upper-grade second-ranked jade bone pines. He only chose 3 jade bone pines with straight trunks that were very suitable for making keels. The wood of these upper-grade second-ranked jade bone pines was very hard. Even if he used the gold-edged sword with all his strength, he could only leave a sword mark that was 1 inch deep. And these jade bone pines, even the smallest one, had a trunk that was 20 to 30 meters in diameter. If he continued to cut down like this, it would take forever. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-cleaving sword. However, the spiritual woods were too dense. The giant sword shadow that was 20 meters long could not be used at all. He could only use all his strength to shrink the heaven-cleaving sword to 20 to 30 meters long. Although it was more strenuous and time-consuming to compress spiritual energy, the heaven-cleaving sword's power had increased by quite a bit. Unfortunately, this move was not practical in actual combat. It was really good to use it for cutting wood. He only needed 1 sword to cut down a upper-grade second-ranked jade bone pines. This upper-grade second-ranked jade bone pines had a tree core that was like white jade and had a diameter of about 2 feet. Just the tree core alone was enough to refine keels. He urgently needed to use the compressed version of the heaven-cleaving sword to cut down the remaining 2 jade bone pines that were suitable for making keels. These 3 jade bone pines were all over 20 meters tall. There was no storage bag that could fit them. It was also not easy to put them in the Spirit Spring Cave. Helpless, he could only cut off all the branches of the jade bone pines. The tree trunks were also chopped into several sections and put them into a large spirit beast bag. Anyway, the keels only needed to be 50 meters long at most. It was useless to have such a long tree trunk. He originally wanted to kill all the bloodthirsty wolf spiders in the pine forest. However, he had made a lot of noise here. If he continued to stay, it was very likely that he would attract demonic beasts. For safety reasons, he immediately flew back to Linji Mountain on his sword. Chapter 271. After Wang Daoyuan arrived at Linji Mountain, he quickly went to the Spirit Spring Cave. Entering the Spirit Spring Cave, he took off the spirit beast bag at his waist and poured out all the branches of the 3 jade bone pine trees. Seeing so many jade bone pine trees, Zhao Liang's eyes widened and he said excitedly, "This is a jade bone pine tree? The Divine Weapon Pavilion can't even bear to use second-grade high-grade jade bone pine trees as the keel when refining second-grade flying ships. They are only willing to use them when refining large flying warships. It's just a pity that these tree trunks are all cut off. Otherwise, it would be enough to refine a flying warship more than 200 feet long." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Don't even think about refining a flying warship. If we want the entire flying warship, the Netherworld sect will definitely confiscate it. You don't have to feel pity for these jade bone pine trees. I found a jade bone pine forest in Fallen Dragon Ridge. There are probably dozens of second-grade mid-grade jade bone pine trees that can barely be used as the keel of a flying ship. There are more than 10 second-grade high-grade ones, and one of them will soon become a third-grade spiritual wood. When your refining skills reach second-grade high-grade, you can refine a complete flying ship, and the entire pine forest will be yours to use." Zhao Liang asked in surprise, "Really? Then I have to become a second-grade high-grade refiner as soon as possible." Wang Daoyuan pointed at a few jade bone pine tree trunks and said, "See if these tree trunks are okay. If not, I'll cut a few more." Zhao Liang quickly answered, "You have more than 10 tree trunks here, and each tree trunk can be made into a keel. If we can refine the core of the flying ship ourselves, it's enough to refine more than 10 flying ships. To refine the keel, you only need to take out the white jade tree core. It's best to cut the outer layer of the tree trunk into 3-inch thick planks. I'll use these planks to make an outer shell to protect the core parts, so that when attacked, the core will not be directly broken like the chasing wave flying ship. The jade bone pine tree is extremely hard, and ordinary late-stage foundation establishment cultivators can't do anything about it. The tools in my hands are simply not enough to handle these tree trunks. So, processing these tree trunks, you still have to do it yourself. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "That's fine, this task won't be difficult for me." Saying that, he used heaven-cleaving sword, and condensed a giant sword phantom of over 20 feet long in his hand. Then, the shadow of the giant sword slowly shrunk to about 5 feet long, which was slightly longer than a tree trunk. He carefully controlled the shadow of the giant sword to cut off layers of wood from the tree trunk. Cutting only the wooden planks and not the heart of the tree consumed much less spiritual energy. After cutting more than 10 wooden planks, the spiritual energy in the giant sword's shadow was exhausted. It took him 4 to 5 days to finish processing all the wooden planks. Zhao Liang had obtained a total of nearly 300 pieces of wood that were 15 meters long and wide enough to be used as the deck of a flying boat. At the sight of this, Zhao Liang even wanted to use these wood to refine the outer shell of the flying boat. He also knew that this was unrealistic. If he wanted to use the jade bone pine to refine a flying boat, he would probably have to cut down a dozen trees. Moreover, it took a lot of time to process the wood. He couldn't possibly let Wang Daoyuan, the Wang clan's strongest fighter below the Violet Palace realm, spend all his time cutting wooden planks, right? After dealing with the wooden planks, Zhao Liang picked out a jade bone pine tree core and handed it to Wang Daoyuan. He said, "Use this to refine the dragon bone. I'll leave the size manipulation formation to you. I can also open the holes on the dragon bone, but I'm very slow. If you're in a hurry to use the flying boat, you can do it yourself. It'll save you half a year." Wang Daoyuan naturally hoped that it would be faster. Although the white jade bone was tough, it still depended on who was processing it. After Zhao Liang marked the location of the holes, he immediately used the golden rock wrestling dragon technique to open the holes. Zhao Liang's eyelids twitched when he saw this. Who had ever seen someone using the sky-severing sword to cut the wood and the golden rock wrestling dragon technique to open the holes? Even perfected Lord Golden Rock would be furious if he saw this. As for the Guiyuan sword sect, they were shameless and didn't care about this. After half a month, Wang Daoyuan finished processing the dragon bone and opened all the holes. He also finished inscribing the size manipulation formation. In the future, he would have to rely on this formation to make the flying boat bigger or smaller. Wang Daoyuan couldn't help with the rest of the work. After getting Zhao Liang's promise to refine the flying boat within a year, he left the Spirit Spring Cave abode and went to Linji Mountain. A flying boat would be available in a year, so he had to work harder at Fallen Dragon Ridge. After the flying boat was refined, he wanted to have a stable territory where he could move ordinary people over. Fallen Dragon Ridge was more than 500 kilometers long. It was impossible to take over the entire mountain range in one go. The family couldn't spare so many people to manage it. It was better to take over a piece of land at the westernmost part of Fallen Dragon Ridge and gradually expand. After showing his face at Linji Mountain, he continued to Fallen Dragon Ridge to deal with the demon beasts. The best place to occupy a stable territory in Fallen Dragon Ridge was the Jadebone Pine Forest at the westernmost part. He continued to use the soul-chasing bees to lure and kill the bloodthirsty wolf spiders and clean up the entire forest. After more than 10 days and losing more than 200 soul-chasing bees, he cleaned up the entire forest and killed more than 30 bloodthirsty wolf spiders. Fallen Dragon Ridge stretched for more than 500 kilometers. A spirit vein ran through the entire mountain range. However, the entire mountain range wasn't continuous. Between the mountain peaks, there were deep valleys, cliffs, hills, and flatlands. The Jadebone Pine Forest was located in a small mountain range that was about 100 kilometers long from east to west and 20 to 30 kilometers wide from north to south. The Jadebone Pine Forest was the most abundant spiritual plant on the mountain. Although this small mountain range was also part of Fallen Dragon Ridge, there was a valley that was several kilometers wide in the east, which separated it from the rest of Fallen Dragon Ridge. This small mountain range didn't have a name of its own. It was called Fallen Dragon Ridge. Wang Daoyuan named it Jadebone Mountain. There were no other rank 2 demon beasts on the mountain except for the bloodthirsty wolf spiders. Although dozens of bloodthirsty wolf spiders were cleaned up and no more soul-chasing bees were killed, Wang Daoyuan still didn't dare to let his guard down. If the spiritual insects the size of a grain of rice were to hide, it would be difficult for him to find them. In Fallen Dragon Ridge, all the rank 2 upper-class demon beasts had their own territories and wouldn't easily cross over. As long as they didn't make too much noise, they didn't have to worry about other demon beasts coming to find trouble. The demon beasts on the east side of Jadebone Mountain were all rank 2 mid-class and low-class demon beasts. If they came, they would be sending themselves to their deaths. In order to establish a stable foundation on Jadebone Mountain, the next step was to set up a defensive array as soon as possible. The spirit veins in Fallen Dragon Ridge were non-elemental. Any type of array could be set up. Of course, a 5-elemental array was the best as it could fully unleash the potential of the non-elemental spirit veins. Moreover, there was another advantage to using a 5-elemental array. Any cultivator of the 5-elemental attribute could use the array. It was even easier to choose the guarding cultivator. Anyone could do it. Wang Daoyuan's array formation legacy came from the 5-element spiritual master. The 5-element spiritual master was a penta-spirit roots cultivator himself. The array formations that he studied the most were naturally the most suitable for him. Therefore, he had the most 5-elemental array formations in his legacy. However, it wasn't easy to choose a suitable array formation for Jadebone Mountain. The mountain was 50 kilometers long and 20 to 30 kilometers wide. Most 5-elemental array formation cores were evenly distributed. In order to cover the entire mountain, 2 cores had to be placed at the easternmost and westernmost points of Jadebone Mountain. As a result, the north and south cores had to be 50 kilometers apart and could only be placed outside of Jadebone Mountain. If the array cores were far away from the spirit veins, it would be very difficult to make use of the spirit chi in the spirit veins. The array cores had to be placed dozens of kilometers away from the mountain and the materials to connect to the spirit veins had to be arranged dozens of kilometers away. Not to mention the high cost of the materials and the high probability of problems, it was inevitable that there would be losses in the process of conducting the spirit chi. If the spirit chi was conducted dozens of kilometers away, it would cause the spirit chi in the 5-elemental array cores to be seriously imbalanced and the array wouldn't be able to operate normally. After searching for a long time, he found an array formation that didn't require the 5-elemental array cores to be evenly distributed, the 5-elemental dragon lock array. Chapter 272. This 5-elements dragon locking formation was a formation that locked spirit veins so that it could extract the spirit veins' origin. Any spirit vein with a bit of scale would extend out in a line. To lock a spirit vein, the distribution of the formation's formation eyes must be close to the spirit vein. Therefore, a senior expert in the Tao of formations created a formation with an uneven distribution of the 5 elements formation eyes. The 5 elements dragon locking formation only targeted spirit veins and had no use in terms of attack or defense. After the 5 elements Taoist obtained this formation, he was very interested in the unique distribution of the 5 elements formation eyes. Using this as a foundation, he made improvements and added many offensive and defensive functions. After the improvements, he did not change the name and called it the 5 elements dragon locking formation. The modified 5 elements dragon locking formation had a total of 26 formation eyes. Among them, there was 1 non-elemental core formation eye and 1 elemental core formation eye. Each elemental core formation eye had 4 auxiliary core formation eyes. Because there were 5 elemental core formation eyes, the controller only needed to control 1 core formation eye to be able to unleash the power of a single elemental formation. This was the common characteristic of all 5 elements formations. The non-elemental core was added later by the 5 elements Taoist. Originally, this formation needed 5 people with different elemental attributes to control. In order to make this formation more suitable for penta-spirit veins cultivators, the 5 elements Taoist added the non-elemental core formation eyes. Penta-spirit veins cultivators would be able to control 5 elemental core formation eyes at the same time. The 5 elemental core formation eyes were unevenly distributed and different elemental spiritual power could not be converted well. When the spiritual power was unbalanced, the non-elemental core formation eyes would need to extract non-elemental spiritual power and split it into the 5 elemental attributes to support the formation eyes of each attribute and balance the 5 elemental spiritual power in the formation. The 20 ordinary formation eyes belonged to the 5 elements and were distributed between the non-elemental core formation eyes and the 5 elemental core formation eyes. They only served to transfer and store spiritual power. After all, the 5 elemental core formation eyes were distributed on a small mountain range and were relatively far away from each other. To ensure that there were no problems with the transfer of spiritual power, the ordinary formation eyes were needed as a transfer point. The offensive and defensive functions of an ordinary formation relied on the cooperation of the core formation eyes and the ordinary formation eyes to complete. The ordinary formation eyes of the 5 elements dragon locking formation were all used to connect to the core formation eyes. If the formation eyes were added, it would make the formation overly complicated and its complexity would even surpass that of many Tier 3 formations. As a result, the amount of materials required and the difficulty of setting up a Tier 3 array formation exceeded that of a Tier 2 array formation, but its power was only a Tier 2 high-grade array formation. In that case, this array formation had no meaning at all. Furthermore, the more complicated the formation, the easier it was for problems to arise, and the less reliable it was. In order to reduce the complexity of the array was set up using magic tools. The offensive and defensive functions of an array formation were entirely dependent on the Dharma artifacts. This was also one of the schools of array formation, known as the Dharma artifact school. The array formations in the 5 elements mystery realm also belonged to this school of thought. The Dharma artifact that held down the array formation was the 5 elements heaven suppression seal. The advantage of the artifact type array formation was that it was easy to set up and simple. Originally, it required many array cores to cooperate with each other to achieve its function. Now, it only needed one core array core and an artifact. The disadvantage was that the cost was high, and the materials used to set up the array could not be compared to the cost of the same grade of array artifacts. The array formation was extremely suitable, but the price to set up this array formation was also quite high. The 6 core array eyes all required Tier 2 materials to be set up, and they also required a Tier 2 high-grade Dharma artifact to hold down the array. To set up a large array that covered the entire Jade Song Mountain, the amount of materials needed was definitely not small. Although Wang Daoyuan was very rich, he lacked the materials needed to set up the array in the Spirit Pearl space. Only the red-scaled pine could be used as a fire attribute material. The materials for the wood attribute array core were easy to find. Although the Jade Song pine was too dense and was not suitable for the transmission of spirit energy, it was not suitable to be used as an array core material and a connecting material. However, the golden silk jade peach was very suitable. He still had no idea what to use for the metal, earth, and water attribute materials. As for the Dharma artifact holding down the array, there was no need to directly use a Tier 2 high-grade Dharma artifact. This array formation was to defend against Tier 2 demonic beasts. With 5 chi refinement cultivators of the 5 elements controlling the array and cooperating with each other, using a Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifact to hold down the array, it was enough to deal with the attack of a Tier 2 high-grade demonic beast. In the future, when there were better Dharma artifacts, they could completely replace the Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifacts. Including the materials for the array core and the connecting materials, they could all be replaced. He had 2 Tier 2 medium-grade Dharma artifacts on him that could be used to hold down the array. They were the Black Gold Sword and the Distant Fire Sword. With these 2 long swords, the array formation's attack methods were no longer lacking. As for the remaining 3 Dharma artifacts, he could arrange them into defensive Dharma artifacts and auxiliary Dharma artifacts. As for the materials for setting up the array, he would leave it to the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother to think of a way. Wang Daoyuan left several hundred soul-chasing bees here to monitor the situation. He himself returned to Jade Spring Peak and reported his needs. Previously, at 5th Great Uncle's Purple Mansion Grand Ceremony, he had received many gifts, including Tier 2 Dharma artifacts. Using a few Dharma artifacts to set up the array wasn't a big problem. Although the clan now had more properties, and the status of the spiritual wood and/or business was much lower than before, they were still one of the pillars of the clan's economy. He could still obtain quite a few Tier 2 spiritual materials of the 5 elements. Setting up the array was also for the clan's benefit. It was reasonable for him to ask for a few Dharma artifacts and some 5-element materials. After he returned to Jade Spring Peak, he reported this matter to the 12th uncle. Now that the Wang clan had become a Purple Mansion clan, they were much more confident. The 12th uncle's entire aura was different. After he heard Wang Daoyuan's plan to use a mid-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact, he shook his head and said, "Our Wang clan currently doesn't lack such things. Isn't it just 5 Dharma artifacts of the 5 elements? Why use a mid-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact? Just use a high-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifact. As for the other materials, our clan doesn't lack them either. If you see any suitable materials, you can have as many as you want." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan teased, "12th uncle, your temperament is different now. You have the demeanor of a Purple Mansion clan leader." Hearing this, Wang Shui smiled and said, "One's attitude needs to match their strength. Now that we've become a Purple Mansion clan, we still need to bring out the imposing manner we should have. The best disguise is to act normal. If we act humble like before, it would instead arouse suspicion." Wang Daoyuan was deeply moved by this. When changing one's appearance and walking outside, the best disguise was to be similar to the people around you. After Wang Daoyuan stated his requirements, Wang Shui immediately took out 5 high-grade Tier 2 Dharma artifacts from the treasury. They were the Gold Fiend Soul-Severing Sword, the Raging Flame Gourd, the Thick Earth Shield, the Bewildering Mist Forbidden God Net, and the 5 Poison Pearl. The Gold Fiend Soul-Severing Sword was extremely sharp. Simply activating it could release a baleful sword chi that could injure both the body and the soul. As long as the Raging Flame Gourd could absorb fire attribute spiritual chi, it could produce flames within the gourd. The gourd also had an internal space similar to a storage pouch that could store flames. When fighting, one could use spiritual sense or spiritual chi to activate it and release flames. The Thick Earth Shield's function was the simplest. It had high defensive power and could withstand all kinds of attacks. The Bewildering Mist Forbidden God Net could release a large cloud of mist that had the effect of concealing spiritual sense. The 5 Poison Pearl could absorb wood attribute spiritual chi and convert it into poison. When facing an enemy, it could release poisonous mist to attack the enemy. In addition, it could also absorb poison from the outside world. It was extremely effective against demonic beasts and cultivators who played with poison. With these 5 Dharma artifacts, there was no longer a need for Foundation Establishment cultivators to guard the formation. As long as 5 Peak Chi refining cultivators were assigned to guard the formation, they would be able to resist the attacks of multiple high-grade Tier 2 demonic beasts. As for the materials for the Formation Eye and the materials for connecting the Formation Eye, the clan had no lack of them. Guarding many mines and forests, it was extremely easy to gather several Tier 2 Formation Eye materials and Tier 1 connecting materials. Chapter 273. Since he had already taken out a Grade 2 Dharma artifact, the materials for the formation core were even less of a problem. He directly used the materials used to refine Grade 2 Dharma artifacts as the formation core. Wang Daoyuan took the 5 Dharma artifacts and headed to Jade Pine Mountain. The other materials were transported to Jade Pine Mountain by the fat flying tiger. He sent the Dharma artifacts into the space of the Spirit Pearl and let his clone Bai Sheng analyze their characteristics. He wanted Bai Sheng to become an upper-grade Grade 2 weapon refiner as soon as possible so that he could help refine the flying boat. Unfortunately, this fellow's foundation was from the evil cultivation of weapon refinement techniques. It would take a long time for him to convert to righteous Dharma artifacts. It had been more than 10 years since Wang Daoyuan refined him into a clone, which meant that he had been in the space for hundreds of years. Until now, he could only refine grade 2 righteous Dharma artifacts. His level was even lower than Zhao Liang's. Moreover, it was not easy to refine a flying boat in private. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain if he suddenly took out a flying boat. It was a little difficult for his clone Bai Sheng to refine an grade 2 Dharma artifact. However, it was not a big problem for him to analyze an grade 2 Dharma artifact. Among the 5 Dharma artifacts, the baleful gold soul severing sword and thick earth shield had the simplest structures. The blazing gourd was not that complicated. It could convert fire attribute spirit chi into flames. Formation patterns and runes could all do that. The fog forbidden god net and 5 poison pearls functions were still very useful. If the fog forbidden god net's function was combined with the cloud mist escape, the Dharma artifact could produce clouds and mist. Using the cloud mist escape would save the time needed to condense clouds and could be used faster. In addition to the function of blocking divine sense, it could also be used to ambush the opponent or take the opportunity to escape. He asked Bai Sheng to analyze the fog forbidden god net so that he could refine a Dharma artifact with a similar function in the future. It would be very useful against enemies and escape. Generally, Dharma artifacts used to deal with poison were refined using materials from poisonous demon beasts. The 5 poison pearl looked like it was made of some kind of spirit jade. He had 2 grade 3 weapon refinement technique inheritances, but there was no record of a pattern that could convert spirit chi into poison. It was worth investigating how it could convert wood attribute spirit chi into poison. After Bai Sheng carefully investigated it, Wang Daoyuan was greatly disappointed. He thought that he had obtained a new pattern, but he did not expect that the demon beast's materials were hidden so well. They were the poison sacs of several poisonous demonic beasts, which had the function of transforming spiritual energy into poison. They were sealed inside the spirit jade. Not only could these poison sacs produce toxins, but they could also absorb and store foreign toxins. If one was not a Tier 2 armament master, one really would not be able to discover the trick of the 5 poison pearl. Among these artifacts, only the mist forbidden divine net was of some use to him, and he could make a copy of it. The other artifacts were just so. Although Wang Daoyuan's attainments in array formations were at superior Tier 2, he did not have much experience in setting up large-scale array formations. The only experience he had was setting up the E-Wood Withering Flourishing Array on Linji Mountain. The rest of his experience in setting up arrays was to set up some defensive restrictions for his own cave abode. He refined a few formation discs that he would often use when traveling outside. The difficulty of setting up the 5 elements dragon locking formation was far greater than the E-Wood Withering formation. However, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense cultivation was strong enough, and he also had enough materials. If the difficulty was high, he would try it slowly. It took a year and 3 times the amount of materials to finally finish setting up the entire array. The non-elemental core array I was placed in the center of Jade Pine Mountain, while the 5 elements core array I was distributed on the mountain. Wang Daoyuan sat in the non-elemental core array I and activated the entire array through the array I. A huge light gray light shield enveloped the entire Jade Pine Mountain. Through the core array I, he controlled the 5 array suppressing artifacts to see how powerful they were. When controlling the baleful gold soul severing sword, a sword chi carrying a baleful aura would suddenly appear anywhere on the light shield. When fully activated, it could even form a long sword phantom. When controlling the blazing gourd, flames would appear. He could also use the flames to cast fire attribute spells, which were stronger than the spells cast by ordinary Foundation Establishment late-stage cultivators. The thick earth shield increased the strength of the light shield. It could be increased as a whole or only in one area. The 5 poison pearl and the mist forbidden divine net only worked within the range of the array, and were not suitable for attacking enemies outside the array. There was no problem with the basic functions of the array, so he went out to lure a Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beast to test the actual combat ability of the array. However, the Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beasts in Fallen Dragon Ridge were more shrewd. No matter how Wang Daoyuan provoked them, they refused to come out. Flowers planted with the intention did not bloom, but unintentionally planted willows grew. The Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beast did not come out. On the way, he encountered a Tier 2 middle Tier 2 earth armor pig that attacked him. Since there were no Tier 2 upper Tier 2 demonic beasts, a middle Tier 2 demonic beast would suffice, so he simply lured it to Jade Pine Mountain. To prevent the earth armor pig from giving up on the chase, Wang Daoyuan did not use the art of sword flight. He relied on his 2 legs to cast the swift art and sprinted on the ground, always keeping a distance of a few hundred feet. After reaching Jade Pine Mountain, Wang Daoyuan suddenly accelerated and shook off the earth armor pig. Quickly running to the non-elemental core array the earth armor pig also ran into the range of the array. Wang Daoyuan activated the array. Seeing that it was covered by the light shield, the wild boar wanted to crash out. It turned around and crashed into the light shield in the east. Wang Daoyuan did not activate the thick earth shield to increase the strength of the light shield, but it still could not break through. The earth armor pig retreated a few hundred feet. Its whole body flickered with an earthy yellow light as it charged forward with all its might. This time, there were finally some cracks on the array's light shield. Wang Daoyuan immediately activated the thick earth shield. The cracks were immediately mended and the entire array's light shield was strengthened. The earth armor pig continued to crash, but the array's light shield only flickered slightly. Next, he activated the Mist Forbidden God Net. Around the earth armor pig, a cloud of mist with a diameter of more than 300 feet was condensed. The earth armor pig's eyes and divine sense could not be used. It could only crash around in the mist. Wherever it ran, Wang Daoyuan would condense the mist there. Next, Wang Daoyuan controlled the vicious gold soul severing sword. A few streaks of sword chi carrying a murderous aura appeared out of nowhere and slashed at the earth armor pig. The earth armor pig's innate spell was to increase its defensive power. It condensed a layer of earthy yellow armor on its body. However, the sword chi was not to be trifled with. A few streaks of sword chi penetrated the earthy yellow armor and left a few shallow bloody wounds on its body. These wounds were nothing to the earth armor pig. However, the source of the sword chi's spirit power was the entire spirit vein. It could attack continuously and rapidly. After a dozen breaths of time, the earth armor pig had 40 to 50 wounds on its body. These wounds were relatively shallow. They would not be able to heavily injure the earth armor pig for a while. Then, Wang Daoyuan activated the 5 poison pearl. A multicolored poisonous mist enveloped the earth armor pig. It entered the earth armor pig's body through the wounds and its mouth and nose. After a few breaths of time, the earth armor pig was a little unstable. The armor on its body also flickered. Then, he controlled the raging flame gourd to condense a flame python that coiled around the earth armor pig. The armor was burned through. Soon, the fragrance of roasted meat wafted out. Finally, he activated the vicious gold soul severing sword with all his strength. A long sword appeared out of nowhere and cut off the pig's head. Without the protection of spirit power, the earth armor pig's corpse was quickly burned to ashes. Wang Daoyuan was very satisfied with the test results of the formation's power. It was easy to kill a middle-rank 2 demonic beast that was famous for its strong defense and physical body. It should not take much effort to use this formation to deal with most high-rank 2 demonic beasts. Chapter 274. Wang Daoyuan immediately reported to the clan leader that the formation had been set up, and it was powerful enough to kill a second-rank high-rank demonic beast. 2 days later, a 15-meter-long and 10-meter-wide flying boat flew over from the west. On the left side of the boat, there were the words, "Chasing Waves," written. The entire flying boat was no different from a chasing waves flying boat. Its flying speed was also very fast, and it could fly more than 1,000 miles every 2 hours. The flying boat landed in the middle of Jadesong Mountain, on a piece of flat land near the neutral formation I. 9 people jumped down from the flying boat, with the first one being the 12th uncle, Wang Shui. He said to Wang Daoyuan, "Daoyuan, quickly take me to see that earth-armored pig." Wang Daoyuan took him to the place where the ashes of the earth-armored pig were. He pointed to a pile of ashes on the ground and said, "The earth-armored pig is right here, and there's only a small pile of ashes left. What else can you see?" Wang Shui smiled. "If it can burn a second-rank mid-rank demonic beast to ashes, and not even its bones are left, then burning a second-rank high-rank demonic beast to death isn't difficult either. You can see the whole picture with a single glance. Is there any need to say more about the power of this formation?" Then, he pointed to the 8 people near the distant formation I and said, "I've also found the people controlling the formation for you. There's one cultivator of each of the 5 elements from the Hall of Guardians. In addition, there are people from the Hall of Spiritual Plants and Hall of Spiritual Wood. In addition, I've also found a student for you." Wang Daoyuan asked, "What student?" Wang Shui sighed and said, "My 26th brother, your 26th uncle, Wang Shouzhe." Wang Daoyuan asked in surprise, "Aren't there only 25 people in the Shou generation?" Wang Shui nodded and said, "There used to be 25, but not anymore. Every generation of our Wang clan has one person who joins the underworld sect. 26th brother's father is 18th uncle, who joined the underworld sect in the Ji generation. 18th uncle just passed away not long ago. Originally, he wanted to continue staying in the underworld sect, but after all, he's only in his teens and hasn't entered the clan records. Dao Long and the other clansmen aren't close to him. It can be said that my 26th brother has no one to rely on in the school. Now that our Wang family has become a Zifu family, my 18th uncle wanted him to return to the family and acknowledge his ancestors before he died." The clansmen who joined the Netherworld sect were actually the reigning clans who were trying to block the disaster. They didn't take any of the clan's cultivation resources, so the clan owed them. Since the 18th uncle wanted the 26th brother to recognize his ancestors before he died, the family naturally couldn't refuse his last wish. This little brother's talent in cultivation wasn't very good, but he was quite talented in array formations. "You're the only one in our family who knows about arrays, so you'll have to teach him. Also, I'll leave the 5 clansmen guarding the hall to you to train. At the very least, they should be able to fight well." Wang Daoyuan said, "I was wondering where your curiosity came from, insisting on coming to see the ashes of the earth armor pig. Turns out you were waiting for me here. Alright, my parents are already in their 90s and don't have many years left to live. As a son, he had to take care of his parents in their old age. I won't be going out for the next few years, so it won't be a problem to train them. As for how much this little uncle can learn, it has nothing to do with me." "Oh right, you swaggered over on a flying boat. Has the Netherworld sect already expressed their stance?" Wang Shui replied, "It's spread all over Clear Glass City now. You're invincible in the same realm in Clear Glass City. It's their fortune to be able to teach them for a few years. As for the Netherworld sect, after they learned that our Wang family built a flying boat, they sent a message to 5th uncle. They allowed our Wang family to build flying boats, but they also gave some restrictions. The flying boat's length can't exceed 10 zhang, and its flying speed can't exceed 2 hours and 2,000 miles. In addition, the flying boats can only be used by ourselves and can't be sold. In addition, if the Netherworld sect needs it, they can conscript all of the Wang family's flying boats." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "When did the Netherworld sect become so generous? I thought they'd say there won't be a next time and only allow us to build one. I didn't expect to give such relaxed conditions. Since the Netherworld sect has good intentions, then we can't let them down. We have to build 8 to 10 boats. Also, the Netherworld sect didn't seem to say whether we can install offensive and defensive magic artifacts. We can also arrange it. Also, how's the Netherworld sect going to fight the Beiyuan sword sect? I haven't been involved in the outside world these years, so I don't know much about it. The Wang family was in the critical period of developing Fallen Dragon Ridge. He didn't want to get involved in the war at this time. Wang Shi said with a smile. The Netherworld sect didn't mention installing offensive and defensive magic artifacts on the flying boats either. If you have the ability, do as you please. The Netherworld sect was very concerned about the Beiyuan sword sect at first. They sent many Zifu realm cultivators to the north of the mountain to negotiate with the demons and half-demons. But the demons and half-demons had a tough attitude, so they couldn't reach an agreement. The Netherworld sect also sent many experts to the north of the mountain to inquire about the news. Some of them returned with injuries. But since 2 years ago, the Netherworld sect's attitude changed. They didn't care too much about the north of the mountain, so they sent fewer people to the north of the mountain. According to your previous judgment, the Yin Qi in the Darkwater River should have recovered. The Netherworld sect was confident, so they didn't act rashly. The Myriad Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace knew that the Zhao family was recruiting forces and preparing to make a comeback, so they didn't dare to act rashly. The 3 major sects are peaceful now, so the situation is very good for the Wang family. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, it's good that it's stable. What I'm most afraid of is that the Zhao family will start to cause trouble before the Wang family can migrate. Now that the 3 major sects aren't fighting, the Zhao family won't dare to act rashly. Let's wait for a few more years. After we migrate our people, they can do whatever they want. After the two talked for a while, Wang Shui drove the flying boat back to the Jade Spring Peak alone. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Neutral Array Corps and assigned tasks to everyone. The 5 clan members guarding the hall were all at the bottom of the Dao generation. The 12th uncle also had the intention of training the disciples. Those who were sent were all above average and not weak in fighting. Letting them train here and earn more contribution points would make it easier to exchange for Foundation establishment elixirs in the future. To prevent demon beasts from sneaking up on them, the 5 elements dragon locking formation was normally in an active state. Each core array core was constantly extracting spirit energy from the spirit veins and breaking it down into the 5 elements. The concentration of spirit energy near the core array core was much higher than other places. Wang Daoyuan let them cultivate near the core array core, which was beneficial to their cultivation. Wang Daoyuan didn't need to arrange for the people sent by the Spiritual Plant Hall and the Spiritual Wood Hall. One of them went to find a place to open up spirit fields, while the other went to record the situation of the Jade Bone Pine Tree. As for little uncle Wang Shouzhe, Wang Daoyuan gave him some of his own experiences on array formations, allowing him to comprehend them on his own. If there was anything he didn't understand, he would answer it. The 5 clan members guarding the hall were all very talented. They quickly grasped the method of controlling the array and even had some preliminary cooperation. Wang Daoyuan also acted as an invader, exchanging blows with the array controlled by the 5 of them. Sometimes, he would also give them some pointers on spells. Among them, the one in charge of guarding the metal element core array core was the 27th brother, Wang Daojian. His metal spirit root was 7 inches and 4 inches long. The technique he cultivated was the gold demon incantation that Wang Daoyuan took from Qi Yun. It was very suitable for controlling the gold demon's soul-severing sword. Wang Daojian was not yet 40 years old, but he was already at the 8th level of the Foundation establishment realm. Furthermore, he was heavily groomed by the clan. He might have a chance to enter the Foundation establishment realm in the future. He was upright and plain-spoken. His only flaw was that he liked to go to extremes. This kind of personality was very suitable for him to walk the path of a sword cultivator. If he could enter the Foundation establishment realm in the future, Wang Daoyuan planned to pass on the things from the Beiyuan sword sect to him. The clan would have another clan member with outstanding combat abilities. Chapter 275. After the 5 brothers guarding the eye of the formation could control the formation proficiently and cooperate seamlessly, Wang Daoyuan opened a cave abode at the foot of Jade Pine Mountain and went into seclusion. To Wang Daoyuan, the best place to cultivate was near the non-elemental spirit vein. However, he was not cultivating in seclusion in the newly opened cave abode to increase his cultivation. Previously, he used the earth vein spirit elixir to increase his cultivation by 2 levels in 5 years. The speed was too fast and needed time to settle down. The purpose of his seclusion was to cultivate the art of refining. Previously, he was worried that the underworld sect would suppress the Wang family and limit the number of flying boats, so he did not have an urgent need for the art of refining. Now, the underworld sect only limited the size and speed of the Wang family's flying boats, not the number. If the Wang family wanted to increase their strength, they naturally had to expand the market. The demand for flying boats would also increase. From Jade Pine Mountain to Jade Spring Peak, from Jade Spring Peak to Clear Glass Market, from Clear Glass Market to Heian Lake Market. Every material transportation line required at least 1 flying boat. In the future, the family would have to expand the market in the central part of Clear Glass County and even the southern part of Clear Glass County, so they would need many flying boats. In addition, they also needed flying boats specially used for battle. This was just a short-term demand. As the family continued to expand, the demand would also increase. They had to increase the number of flying boats as much as possible before the underworld sect reacted and limited the number of flying boats. Otherwise, their future expansion would be greatly restricted. Zhao Liang could not be counted on. This fellow's talent in refining was not very good, and his cultivation was low. It took him nearly a year to refine the outer shell of the flying boat. Counting on him to refine the core of the flying boat, who knew how long it would take? To refine a complete flying boat, he still had to rely on himself. Wang Daoyuan used the soul-splitting blade and cut out a sub-soul from his own soul to replace the sub-soul in Bai Sheng's Sea of Consciousness. He merged with the sub-soul that Bai Sheng had nurtured for many years, and his divine sense power increased by 5%. After absorbing the refining experience in the sub-soul, he officially started his own refining path. The refining path was divided into 3 parts: refining materials, forging, and inscribing patterns. With the experience of refining pills, refining materials was not difficult. His attainments in talisman and formation made inscribing patterns very simple. Coupled with the experience of Bai Sheng's doppelganger, Wang Daoyuan only took 3 to 4 months to master these 2 techniques. As for forging and molding, it was a general term for the processing of various materials. Previously, when he cooperated with Zhao Liang to cut the wooden planks and open the mortise, they could all be classified as forging and molding. As long as it wasn't a special artifact, forging it into shape was purely physical work. There wasn't any technical skill involved, so he could learn it slowly. For years passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Daoyuan relied on his attainments in alchemy, talisman, and array, as well as Bai Sheng's experience. In terms of crafting, he had already reached the 2nd level of the middle grade. He was only a step away from the 2nd level of the upper grade. Bai Sheng was currently only at this level and could not provide him with much experience. He could only walk his own path in the future. Wang Daoyuan originally wanted to raise his refining level to the upper grade of the 2nd tier in one go, but bad news came from his family. His parents' lifespan had come to an end. He handed over the affairs of Jade Pine Mountain and summoned the Thunder Ape to temporarily guard this place. He then flew to Qingxi village on his sword. His parents were both 98 years old. Although they had been served with spirit grains and wild ginseng with spirit energy, they still hadn't reached the limit of a mortal's lifespan. When Wang Daoyuan returned home to Qingxi village, his parents were already on their deathbed. The morning hall had already been set up at home. He took out a fierce blood boar from the space of the spirit pearl and used the azure dragon pearl to extract its vitality. Then, he put away the fierce blood boar and controlled the azure dragon pearl to release a dark green light towards his parents. Their situation obviously improved. His mother looked at him and said, "Hua, you're finally back. Your father and I can't hold on any longer. We can't see San Hua again. We're already very happy to see you. You and Sanhua have both become immortals, but you haven't left behind any descendants. You can only rely on your brother's bloodline to carry on the family line. After your father and I die, we'll help take care of your brother's descendants. Wang Daoyuan's eyes were red. Father, mother, don't worry. I'll take good care of my brother's descendants. I've already notified Sanhua. He'll be back soon. Birth, old age, sickness, and death were the laws of heaven and earth. If one couldn't live forever, they couldn't avoid it no matter what. No matter how strong the azure dragon pearl was, it couldn't go against the laws of heaven and earth. His parents were already at the end of their lives. The only thing Wang Daoyuan could do was let them live for a few more days. After 3 days, the azure dragon pearl could no longer sustain the lives of the two elders. They fell into a semi-coma again. At this time, Wang Daoyin finally arrived at Qingxi village. Wang Daoyuan activated the azure dragon pearl again, letting the two elders wake up for a while longer. The two elders opened their eyes and saw Wang Daoyin kneeling in front of the bed, his face full of tears. Wang Fu looked at his 3 sons. It was as if his body had recovered. He smiled and said, I have no regrets in this life. Of my 3 sons, 2 have become immortals, and 1 has a family full of children and grandchildren. When I die, all 3 of my sons can send me off. The eldest son is immortal with a rich life. There's nothing to worry about. The second son has been steady since he was young. I'm not worried. Only you, Sanhua, have been reckless since you were young and walked the dangerous path of immortal cultivation. I don't ask you to make a name for yourself. I only ask that you can live a peaceful life. With that said, Wang Fu closed his eyes. Beside him, Madame Wang Yang also passed away. The 3 brothers knelt in front of the bed and wailed. After crying for an hour, Wang Meng stopped crying. He wiped his tears and began to preside over the funeral. According to the customs of mortals, the 2 elders had to stop for 7 days and wait for their relatives and friends to come and pay their respects. 2 hours later, Wang Shui personally came to Qingxi village to mourn on behalf of the family. Madame Wang Yang was from the Yang family. After she passed away, her family naturally had to be informed. The Yang family sent 2 cultivators, 1 male and 1 female, to pay their respects. The male was Yang Yulan, whom the Yang family had focused on nurturing. The female was Madame Wang Yang's niece, Yang Yuqing. According to the relationship of mortals, Yang Yuqing and Madame Wang Yang were not even 5 years old. Yang Yuqing was only in her 40s, and her cultivation had reached the 7th level of qi refinement. Her talent was not bad. The arrival of the 2 fully showed the Yang family's attitude. Next, the surrounding families heard the news and sent foundation establishment cultivators to pay their respects. Even a few clans from Heian County and Qingli County had sent people over. On the 7th day, even the Netherworld sect sent a foundation establishment cultivator to pay their respects. Finally, Yi Changxing of the Divine Weapon Pavilion also came to pay his respects. Dozens of foundation establishment cultivators came to pay their respects to 2 mortals. Even the Netherworld sect, one of the 3 major sects of the Zhao state, and the cultivators of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, a top force in Beiyuan Xiuxian. In the cultivation world, it was considered an unheard of story. After 7 days, Wang Daoyuan personally cremated the bodies of the 2 elders. The 2 elders were the parents of Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin. If they left their bodies behind, there were many evil techniques that could be used to deal with the 2 brothers. For the sake of their parents' peace and the safety of the 2 brothers, it was better to cremate them. According to the family's rules, the 2 elders could be buried in the family cemetery on Jade Spring Peak. Wang Meng carried the soul summoning banner, while Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin each carried an urn of ashes. They took the family's flying boat to Jade Spring Peak. The 2 elders were buried together in the family cemetery, in a place reserved for the Shou generation. After the burial, the two's memorial tablets were invited to the ancestral temple. According to the family's rules, the memorial tablets of the ordinary clansmen were placed beside the memorial tablets of the cultivators. Because of Wang Daoyuan's great contributions and Wang Daoyin's high status, the two elders' memorial tablets were placed together with the memorial tablets of the Shou generation cultivators. The two's names were also recorded in the family register. Chapter 276. According to the standard of an elder's death, the family mourned for the two elders for 3 months. In Beiyuan Xiuxian, there was no rule of observing mourning for one's parents for 3 years. After the 3 brothers observed mourning for the 2 elders on Jade Spring Peak for 3 months, the mourning period was over. Wang Daoyuan personally steered the flying boat to send his eldest brother off Jade Spring Peak. When they arrived at Qingxi village, a group of juniors greeted them at the door. Dahe also hung its head and stood to the side. It was raised by the 2 elders, and it was also very sad when the 2 elders passed away. Dahe's cultivation was equivalent to a human cultivator at the peak of qi refining. Without the foundation establishment stage, spirit beasts could become second-rank demonic beasts at any time. Beside Dahe stood a child about 10 years old, who looked very smart. Wang Daoyuan pointed at the child and asked, "This is the great-grandson with the spiritual root, right? He should be 10 years old now." Wang Meng nodded and said, "Yes, it's him." Wang Daoyuan took out a qi testing disc and asked the little guy to put his hand on it. After a while, 3 light beams appeared on the qi testing disc: green, black, and yellow. The green light beam was the highest, reaching 7.6 centimeters. The black and yellow light beams were only slightly more than an inch. He had 3 spiritual roots, and his main spiritual root was 7.6 centimeters. He could be considered a genius. Although Wang Daoyuan had 5 spiritual roots, his comprehension was excellent, and he could be considered a genius in the cultivation arts and magic arts. He had a hidden thunder body, and he was also a rare genius. The 2 brothers were both geniuses with poor spiritual roots, but this great-grandson became a genius completely by relying on his spiritual roots. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "We finally have a normal genius in our family." Hearing this, Wang Meng's face lit up and he asked, "Is this child very talented?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "He's considered to be very talented. Just looking at spiritual roots, he's better than me and 3rd brother. As long as he cultivates well in the future, and with my help, it won't be difficult for him to reach the foundation establishment stage." Wang Meng was overjoyed and said, "It seems that there's hope for me to enter the ancestral temple and serve the ancestors in 100 years. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "That's not difficult at all. There's nothing going on at home, so I'll take my great-grandson to Jade Spring Peak first." After saying that, he steered the flying boat back to Jade Spring Peak. The 3rd brother, Wang Daocheng, was the grand elder. Whenever there was a new cultivator in the clan, it was only natural that they would report to him. When Wang Daocheng found out that there was a little genius with a 7-inch spiritual root in the family, he immediately arranged for a ceremony to acknowledge his ancestors. Because the little guy was not a direct descendant of Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoyin, he could not be treated according to the secular hierarchy. Therefore, he was classified as a member of the Ming generation. He was ranked 30th and was given the name Wang Mingshan. Because of the system proposed by Wang Daoyuan, as long as a cultivator's close relatives were pregnant, the clan would distribute spirit grains to them. Therefore, in recent years, there were more cultivators among the clan's newborns. The oldest person in the Ming generation was in his 30s, but there were already 30 cultivators in the group. It was estimated that the number of cultivators in the Ming generation would exceed 50. It had been more than 3 months since Wang Daoyin returned home, and it was time for him to leave. Before leaving, he handed a storage pouch to Zhao Liang, saying, "Senior Marshal Brother, Master asked me to pass something to you. He also asked me to tell you that although your talent is a bit lacking, you are still his disciple. He doesn't want you to die before him." Zhao Liang took the storage pouch and cupped his hands in thanks. Wang Daoyin then handed another storage pouch to Wang Daoyuan, saying, Master said that with your comprehension, it would be a pity if you didn't master all 4 paths. He wants you to practice the art of refining. He also wants to see what you can achieve by mastering all 4 paths. These are some of his refining insights, not the inheritance of the divine weapon pavilion. He wants you to study them well. Zhao Liang joked on the side, that old man is biased. Why didn't he give me his refining insights? Wang Daoyin laughed. Master said that your talent in refining is too poor. Unless you get lucky, you will at most be a 3rd-tier upper-grade refiner. His insights won't be of much use to you. Zhao Liang was unconvinced and laughed. No matter what, your senior martial brother is still a 2nd-tier middle-grade refiner. How dare you say that to me? Wang Daoyin laughed. I'm also a 2nd-tier middle-grade refiner now. There's not much distance between me and 2nd-tier upper grade. Wang Daoyuan continued, my younger brother followed Master Lei Yan for 20 years and is already a 2nd-tier middle grade. Brother-in-law, how many years have you followed Master Lei Yan? Zhao Liang was speechless for a long time and pretended to be angry. Don't meddle in our refiner's business as an outsider. Wang Daoyuan took out a long sword and said, Brother-in-law, this is my practice work. Is it to your liking? Zhao Liang took the long sword and examined it carefully. He saw that the long sword was made of spiritual wood and there were faint golden threads on it. The material should be the branch of a golden silk jade peach. There were no obvious flaws on the entire longsword, whether it was the tool patterns or the material. The material used was 2nd-tier lower grade, but it was a 2nd-tier middle grade longsword. This level of refinement was at least at the peak of 2nd-tier middle grade refiners. He was limited by his cultivation and there were inevitable mistakes in the various processes. It was impossible for him to forge a near-perfect 2nd-tier magic weapon. After a long time, he threw the longsword to Wang Daoyuan and said, I can't be bothered to lower myself to your level. I want to see what Master has given me. After opening the storage bag, his nose turned sour. Master still loves me. Wang Daoyuan laughed. Isn't it just a foundation establishment pill? Is there a need for this? Zhao Liang was a little shocked and asked, how do you know it's a foundation establishment pill? Even Violet Palace realm cultivators can't see through the storage bag refined by Master. How did you do it? Wang Daoyuan said in disdain, Master Lei Yan is famous throughout his life. Why did he take in such a stupid disciple like you? Master Lei Yan doesn't want to see his son die before him. Don't you understand? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and prepare for foundation establishment. You and I are close in age, already over 70 years old. The success rate of foundation establishment isn't high. Do you need me to give you some blood jade ginseng soup? Zhao Liang laughed, no need. Master has already thought about it. I'm only over 70 years old. My qi and blood haven't declined much. A few blood essence pills are enough. This time it was Wang Daoyuan's turn to be unhappy. This blood essence pill was a 3rd-tier middle-grade medicinal pill. After taking the blood essence pill, foundation establishment cultivators under 100 years old wouldn't be affected by the decline of qi and blood. He sighed. It's still good to have a golden core cultivator as a master. Brother, go back and tell Master Lei Yan that if I beat my brains silly, will he accept me? The 3 of them laughed. Afterwards, Wang Daoyin left Jade Spring Peak with a large amount of food and returned to Divine Weapon Pavilion. Zhao Liang started to prepare for foundation establishment. His main spiritual root was a fire spiritual root. It wasn't suitable for foundation establishment on Jade Spring Peak. Since his family had Jade Pine Mountain, a non-elemental spiritual vein, he might as well let him build his foundation there. The flying boat wasn't here. Wang Daoyuan summoned Yun Yi and asked her to carry Zhao Liang to Jade Pine Mountain. Now that there was a flying boat, Yun Yi had a competitor. Her business wasn't so good, and the momentum of her body's expansion was restrained. In the future, if he refined more flying boats, Yuni wouldn't have any business to do. She should still have hope of returning to her normal tiger appearance. The barbecued meat had already been handed over to Yun-yi. Zhao Liang said, "Bring Dao Shu." Master gave her 4 foundation establishment pills. Let her try to build her foundation too. Yun-yi was now a second-tier high-grade demonic beast. Her intelligence had also increased. She began to roast meat according to the number of people. Carrying 2 people to Jade Pine Mountain, she wanted to double the amount of barbecued meat. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.